Marvel Dragon Ball System Chapter 1 The Person Who Traveled to the Wrong World. Name, S.H.I.E.L.D. Age, 14. Combat Power, 12. Racial Talents, Primary Agelessness, Big Stomach, Scion Physique, Fixed Hairstyle. Redemption Points, 0 inch. Elementary Immortality, the aging rate slows down after the age of 50, the appearance does not change within 80 years, and the spirit is years old. Big Eater, food intake is 20 to 30 times that of normal humans. Scion Physique, loves fighting and has unlimited growth potential. After resurrection from the brink of death, combat effectiveness will greatly increase. He is born with a tail, which is a Scion's weakness and can be overcome through practice. Fixed Hairstyle, purebred Scions are born with a fixed shape that does not grow, and their hair is black. It was a dimly moonlit night. S.H.I.E.L.D. was sitting in a dirty restaurant in a Chinatown alley. There was a plate that one person had eaten cleanly beside him, and he was looking at his attribute panel in a daze. He is a time traveler, and a very special time traveler. Selected as a time traveler by the Traveler Management Association, he died in a car accident. He was originally going to the world of Dragon Ball, but due to a mistake by the management staff, he got on the bus to the Marvel world. In order to compensate him, the association gave him a system that allowed him to make full use of his connection with the world of Dragon Ball. I originally thought that traveling through time would be a great experience, being able to punch Hulk and kick Thanos casually, but when he actually traveled to this world, he realized that was not the case at all. 35XS. As a wrong time traveler, you cannot possess the aboriginal people of this world and receive memories and be reborn like normal time travelers. Instead, a body is specially built by the association and appears out of thin air in an alley in a corner of New York. In other words, he is a gangster. As a distinctly Oriental person and a black man, S.H.I.E.L.D. had spent a long time in extreme despair. It took him a year to gain a foothold in the city and work as a minor stevedore in Chinatown. Although as a gangster, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s salary is nearly half that of a normal worker, he is much stronger than an adult and works much faster than other workers, making him very popular with nearby bosses. But even so, the money he earns, excluding rent, is only enough to satisfy him every meal. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s big stomach physique supports the restaurant where S.H.I.E.L.D. works. I work 14 hours a day and have no time to do tasks at all. If the company didn't take care of lunch, how would I live my life? I've never heard of anyone who has traveled to another world and still struggles to support himself at the bottom of society. S.H.I.E.L.D. was mumbling and complaining, and his whole person was full of negative energy. Saying that he didn't have time to practice and do tasks was actually just an excuse made by S.H.I.E.L.D. The reason why I haven't done the task is just because I can't get over the hurdle in my heart. Take a look at several tasks lying in the system taskbar. Main mission, kill Kingpin. Strawberry rewards 1000 redemption points. Side mission, kill Bullseye. Reward 500 redemption points. Daily mission, arrest or kill 3 gunmen. Reward 15 points. As the typical novice boss in the Marvel world in those novels, Kingpin and his subordinate Bullseye, appearing in the first main and side missions after time travel do not seem to be difficult. The current targets in daily missions are gunmen, gangsters, gang dens, assassins of certain leaders, etc. They are all trash fish that pose no threat in the Marvel universe. But in fact this task is difficult. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s current physical fitness is only 2 to 3 times that of a normal adult, and he is still far from being immune to gunfire. Even a child holding a gun is enough to pose a threat to him. You know, this is the United States, the legendary New York. If you don't carry a gun when you go out, you are not considered a local. S.H.I.E.L.D. feels that if she really goes to find trouble with those bad guys, she will definitely buy a return trip in advance. Voted. It's not like he never thought about transforming into a giant ape, but in order to end people around him from thinking he was a mutant, he cut off his body the day after he came to this world. He didn't know when it would grow back. Cutting off the tail really hurts. Putting the last mouthful of rice into his mouth, S.H.I.E.L.D. came to the counter. He opened a page of the account book at the counter with ease, wrote down today's consumption and signed his name. The middle-aged boss in a dirty white vest shook his head. Pushan stared at the 17-inch small TV half-deadly, not even looking at him. For more than half a year, S.H.I.E.L.D. has been coming here to eat every night, and the boss has long been used to it. Tony Stark, chairman of Stark Industries, was attacked and disappeared by terrorists in Afghanistan 3 days ago. On the TV, there was a replay of the recent disappearance of Tony Stark in Afghanistan, which officially opened the Earth's troubled era. Of course, people in this world have not yet realized this. This year is 2007, and there are still 11 years until Zayata snaps his fingers. Maybe I can save myself and not be among the missing half. S.H.I.E.L.D. thought with some self-deprecation, twitching the corner of his mouth slightly, and walked out of the house. A humble little shop. He still had to walk 2 blocks back to his rental house of less than square meters, take a shower and have a good sleep before tomorrow's exhausting physical work. It's better to leave things like becoming stronger and saving the world to others. Should I talk to my boss about a salary increase? Even though I'm a miner and a gangster, my salary is still too little. Hey, man, hand over your money. Turning a corner in the alley, 3 black guys stood in front of S.H.I.E.L.D. They all wear hip-hop style and have the temperament of a rapper. S.H.I.E.L.D., who has lived in New York for a year, knew immediately that these were just 3 street gangsters, maybe drug addicts. One of them held a pistol and pointed it at S.H.I.E.L.D.'s head. S.H.I.E.L.D. skillfully turned his trouser pockets out immediately, revealing the empty bottom, and then raised his hands. Brother, I'm just a stowaway, I have no money. If you don't believe me, you can search. The man holding the gun tilted his head, and another black guy to him stepped forward and rummaged through each of his pockets from top to bottom. Unfortunately, nothing was found except a few dollars in coins. The black man looked at him with pity and even chose to put the coin back into his pocket. Seeing this scene, the leading black man put down his gun and waved his hand at S.H.I.E.L.D. with a look of disgust. Damn it, this is the first time I have seen such a poor yellow-skinned monkey. Go away, poor man, I advise you. Don't choose to call the police, otherwise you will be dead. No problem. S.H.I.E.L.D. nodded decisively, carefully walked around the 3 robbers, and trotted away. After turning a corner and out of sight of the 3 black guys, he breathed a sigh of relief and continued walking to his 20-square-meter cabin. Ah, a frightened woman's scream made S.H.I.E.L.D. stop suddenly. Obviously, before he left for a minute, another unlucky guy stepped into the ambush of the black guy, and she was also a woman. Listening to the dirty words and the sound of tearing cloth in the alley, the woman's situation seems not to be good. This was a situation S.H.I.E.L.D. had never encountered before, which made him a little confused at this moment. To escape or to save, that is the question. Chapter 2. If you want to save someone, you may have to fight with those 3 black brothers. When S.H.I.E.L.D.'s thoughts reached this point, she turned around and ran back. His body's instinct tells him that he can fight and do good things, so why not do it? His reason told him that this decision that was not in line with his character was most likely brought to him by his scion physique, but he was completely unable to suppress it. Just like a person who has been hungry for 3 days and has a table of delicious food in front of him, he will eat it even if it is poisonous. He somewhat understands why the scions in Dragon Ball sometimes look a little silly. When he returned to the scene of the ES robbery, 3 black men had torn the woman's top to pieces, leaving only the innermost bra intact. Nice figure. S.H.I.E.L.D. secretly praised her in her heart. When the 3 black men saw S.H.I.E.L.D. running back, they stopped in surprise and were a little confused for a moment. Let that girl go. S.H.I.E.L.D. was not polite. Before the black brother could react, he rushed over, raised his fist, and hit the shoulder of the black brother closest to him. He didn't dare hit vital points for fear of killing someone. Although the black brother reacted and tried to resist when S.H.I.E.L.D. rushed over, S.H.I.E.L.D., who was more than twice the size of an ordinary person, was not so easy to stop. As soon as he raised his arm, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s fist fell on his shoulder. The huge force made him feel as if he had been hit by a high-speed car. He flew out in a spin and landed on the ground with a thud. The highly difficult technical move of turning sideways 2.5 times and landing into a box surprised everyone present. Am I so strong? S.H.I.E.L.D. became excited and set her sights on the other 2 black brothers. He wanted to experiment again. Damn it. A black brother reacted and immediately put his hand into his shirt. S.H.I.E.L.D. immediately realized that this guy was going to pull out a gun. There was no need to think of any countermeasures, the body's instinct of self-protection made the decision for S.H.I.E.L.D. He twisted his body and hit the guy's head with a whip. The moment, the black brother hit the ground like a hammer, making a muffled thud sound. When S.H.I.E.L.D. came back to her senses, she saw that this guy had lost consciousness. Perhaps the attack was a bit harsh. You won't die, right? S.H.I.E.L.D stayed there, worried. Having lived under the protection of the red flag in his S.H.I.E.L.D life, he was worried about being caught for fighting, let alone killing someone. However, just when he was struggling, the remaining black brother also reacted. Because of the distance and S.H.I.E.L.D's confusion, he successfully pulled out a pistol. He wisely did not try to attack S.H.I.E.L.D, but decisively pulled the woman over, pointed the pistol at the woman's temple, and hid himself behind the woman. 35XS. You yellow-skinned monkey, get out of here. Otherwise I'll kill her. He threatened with a pretentious ferocity, his legs trembling. S.H.I.E.L.D was very conscientious and raised her hands decisively. But the moment, he suddenly found that the other party's hand holding the gun was shaking, and he felt certain in his heart. After thinking about it, he began to walk forward step by step and said, "Relax, man, racial discrimination is not good, and murder is much more serious than robbery. I advise you to surrender obediently. You know you can't run away, believe me, you will definitely regret being beaten by me. Shit. Stop, stay away from me. Otherwise I'm going to shoot." He raised the gun in a panic and pointed it at S.H.I.E.L.D. It's now. S.H.I.E.L.D decisively chose to attack. He kicked his toes on the ground and rushed towards the opponent like a cannonball. With the bang of the gunshot, S.H.I.E.L.D felt as if his left arm had been hit by a hammer, and a sharp pain shot from the bones of his right arm straight to his brain. I've been shot. A thought flashed through S.H.I.E.L.D's mind, but she was not distracted. He forced himself to ignore the pain under the influence of adrenaline. S.H.I.E.L.D rushed to the enemy in less than 2 seconds and grabbed the enemy's gun-holding right hand with his right hand. There was another bang. Fortunately, the black man's right hand holding the gun had been controlled. S.H.I.E.L.D twisted his hand and the shot hit the wall beside him. As the gunshot fell, his fist landed firmly on the guy's face. There was no time to think about the consequences at the moment of life and death. This punch was almost thrown with all his strength. The unlucky black guy was knocked 2 to 3 meters away, and his entire face was dented. Complete the daily task and receive a reward of 15 redemption points. The lottery system is on. Congratulations to the host for getting the novice reward, a free lottery. Nailed it. S.H.I.E.L.D ignored the inexplicable voice in her mind. Her body softened and she fell to the ground with a plop. Cold sweat made her entire back feel wet. Only then did he see a gun muzzle on his right arm, and blood stains soaked through a large area of his clothes. Immediately afterwards, severe pain penetrated his brain like lightning. Fake. He roared like a beast, covering his wound in horror, with a ferocious face, leaning against the wall and covering his wound, trembling all over. All of this was something he had never experienced in his S.H.I.E.L.D life, which was almost the most peaceful country in the world. It made him feel like he must be dreaming now. But the pain that kept coming from his right arm reminded him over and over again that all of this was real. Are you injured? I'm calling an ambulance right now. The woman came back to her senses at this time. Seeing S.H.I.E.L.D's appearance, she panicked and started looking for her mobile phone. No need. S.H.I.E.L.D said while trying to stand up. There are gunfire here and the police will show up soon. As a gangster, he will definitely be caught, and he must leave here immediately. No, you are bleeding. I said no. The woman finally found her mobile phone in the bag that was thrown aside. Just as she was about to dial, the phone was snatched away by S.H.I.E.L.D. The woman was startled by S.H.I.E.L.D's ferocious face and roar, and froze in place, daring not to move. Seeing this, S.H.I.E.L.D put the phone back into the woman's hand, tried to make her voice gentle, and said comfortingly, I am a yellow race. You know, the American police are representatives of racial discrimination. I don't want to cause trouble. This, okay. The woman chose to put away her phone. Obviously, she also agreed with S.H.I.E.L.D's statement. But what about your injury? You need to stop the bleeding. What if you get infected? I will find a way to deal with it myself. The police are coming soon. I need to get out of here. I wish you good luck. S.H.I.E.L.D breathed a sigh of relief when the other party gave up calling an ambulance. In fact, he was more worried about being caught in a laboratory and sliced for research than he was about racial discrimination. After saying hello, he immediately covered his wound and staggered out of the alley. In the distance, he heard police sirens getting closer. The woman watched S.H.I.E.L.D leave, and it took her a long time to realize that she was standing among 3 robbers. Seeing that the first black man whom S.H.I.E.L.D knocked down seemed to be desperately trying to stand up, his face suddenly turned pale, and he quickly turned around and fled. Chapter 3 Lottery. When S.H.I.E.L.D returned to his rental house, the sleeve of his right arm was almost completely soaked with blood. Strawberry took off his coat, and you could see a hole in his shirt, revealing his flesh and blood. In the center of the wound, you can still see the metal tail of the bullet. His pain told him that the bullet was most likely embedded in his bones. This may prove that his physical strength is much higher than that of normal people, and guns cannot penetrate his bones. Such an idea suddenly appeared in S.H.I.E.L.D's mind. He wanted to imitate the clip in the movie, biting a white towel and using a sterilized knife to pry out the bullet from the wound, but when he was about to take the knife, he realized that he didn't have the courage at all. It's so pitiful that he was just a poor man struggling at the bottom of society, no matter in his past or present life. How could he have that kind of willpower? Damn it, we have to go find Uncle Liang. S.H.I.E.L.D took the towel out of her mouth and decided to see a doctor. There is a medical stall in Chinatown that specializes in treating bruises and injuries. Although it is not very formal, I heard that the effect is good. While he found a bandage from the medical kit and wrapped it around his arm, he thought about diverting his attention to relieve the pain a little. He immediately thought of the system prompt he heard after knocking down the last black brother. Daily mission completed. What's the lottery? S.H.I.E.L.D frowned and brought up the system interface while continuing to bandage. I saw that today's daily task turned into completed status. And in addition to the properties page and task page, there is a new page. This page is a 20-grid turntable with different props in each grid. In the lower right corner of the page, there are 3 lines of small words written. The number of draws remaining is 1. Click to purchase. 300 redemption points can be purchased once. Turntable upgrade experience 010. Is this broken system finally working? Oh, I did beat up 3 robbers for the first time. It seemed like they did have guns. Were the redemption points originally used for lottery draws? No wonder there is no such thing as a mall. What are the prizes in the raffle? S.H.I.E.L.D set her sights on the lottery wheel. There are 20 grids, most of which are Kamasenon's sunglasses, Bulma's original underwear, Krillin's collection of magazines, and other messy things. Only a few are useful: Wolf Fong Wind Fist, Turtle Immortal Fluid Technique, Rui Golden Cudgel, Imitation Version, 40 kilograms turtle shell weight. What the hell are turtle shell weights? Do I need to carry a turtle shell to exercise in the city center? After wrapping up the wound, S.H.I.E.L.D found another coat, put it on and went out, laughing at herself as she walked, silently choosing to start the lottery. The turntable spun for a while and then gradually slowed down, and the pointer slowly reached the column of Bulma's original underwear. S.H.I.E.L.D's face turned dark. 35XS. Fortunately, the goddess of fate still favored him, and the pointer moved 1 more point at the last moment and stopped at the Lang Fong Wind Fist. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Lang Fong Wind Fist. S.H.I.E.L.D suddenly felt dizzy. To a dimly populated street with dim street lights, he stood there blankly for a few seconds and rolled his eyes. When he came to his senses, he found that the entire set of Lang Fong Fong Fist appeared in his memory. To be precise, it should be Yamcha-style fighting skills, plus a special move, Langya Fong Fong. Memory installation. He frowned, looked around to see if there were no strangers, and immediately got into a stance, first trying a few Yamcha-style fighting techniques, and then the Langya Fong Fong Fist. The entire set of Yamcha-Ryu fighting skills is not very long and is a bit like Chinese martial arts, but it is actually a set of fighting moves. The Wolf Fong Wind Fist is quite magical. When you strike, you feel that all the power of your body is concentrated in your hands, which is extremely powerful. It seems that not only the memory, but also the physical instincts have been instilled. It's just a lack of actual combat experience. Now it can only be regarded as mastery. There may be problems with proficient combat. S.H.I.E.L.D concluded in his heart. If before, he could only exert 20% to 30% of his physical fitness by relying solely on instinct, and he could only suppress the enemy with strength and speed, now he can exert about 40% of his strength with the Yamcha-Ryu fighting technique. After training, I can perform almost 50%. Although the combat effectiveness has not increased, the actual combat capability has increased a lot. Coupled with the Wolf Fang Wind Fist, it is even more powerful. Not bad. Hiss. After the punch, his body was dominated by more severe pain in his arm again, making him take a breath. You really asked for it. Why do you have to experiment with the Wolf Fang Wind Fist when you are injured? S.H.I.E.L.D cursed herself secretly and continued walking towards the old Chinese medicine doctor's house. Another half-month passed in the blink of an eye. What happened that night did not make the news, so no one was probably killed. Or maybe it's not news at all that a few people died in a hot water place like New York City, but at least S.H.I.E.L.D could comfort herself this way. The old Chinese medicine practitioner's skills are pretty good, and now S.H.I.E.L.D's injuries are almost healed. It's just that the little money he finally saved was spent and his job was lost. A stowaway involved in the shooting incident was not popular in the Chinese circle, but S.H.I.E.L.D was not worried at all. Because he thought of an efficient money-making plan. As a scion who upholds justice, how can he allow evil forces to spread in Hell's Kitchen? They must be stopped. Moreover, their dirty money must also be stolen to support the cause of protecting mankind. Robbery. What robbery? Can superhero stuff be considered robbery? This is reasonable access to action funds. He knew that the Scion blood had a great influence on him, but he could not deny that the experience that night completely aroused the restlessness and desire for stimulation deep in his heart. S.H.I.E.L.D also prepared a set of his own battle clothes. Compared to the tights that looked so middle-class, Luoya chose to customize a set of black and dark cloud-patterned cloaks, and added a single-eye threaded full-coverage mask as his battle uniform. That's right, it's what the legendary Akatsuki organization Uchiha Obito did in Naruto. Compared with the simple and shameful tights, S.H.I.E.L.D believes that this kind of clothing is low-key, luxurious and connotative. You say the cloak affects combat. Just kidding, being strong is only temporary, being handsome is lifelong, right? That night, S.H.I.E.L.D packed his combat uniform in a plastic bag and took a taxi to Hell's Kitchen, a place known for its messy and backward living quality, serious ethnic conflicts and high crime rate. The headquarters of Kingpin, the largest gang leader in the Marvel world, is located in this chaotic area. Coming to a dark alley, putting on a cloak and a mask, S.H.I.E.L.D stared at the bar across the street, feeling a little excited. Daily mission: destroy a gang den and be rewarded with 100 redemption points. It's time to fight. Chapter 4: Encountering Daredevil. Daredevil, also known as Daredevil, whose real name is Matt McDormandock. Once, Matt rescued a blind man from a loaded truck. However, he was contaminated by the radioactive material spilled on the truck and became blind. However, his other senses were accidentally enhanced. Later, under the cruel influence of the blind martial arts master Gunsu, with training, Matt mastered his super senses and became a powerful warrior. After that, Matt was a lawyer during the day, and at night he put on a mask and transformed into Daredevil to fight crime in Hell's Kitchen, New York. Daredevil possesses superhuman strength, speed, agility, and endurance. He is also proficient in a variety of fighting techniques. Through long-term training, he combines various fighting techniques to create a unique form of martial arts. Daredevil usually carries 2 combat batons and a multifunctional folding stick, Billikp, which looks like a blind man's crutch. Billikp is a versatile, multi-purpose weapon with powerful functions. It consists of 91 meters of cable that can be extended and retracted. One end is equipped with a stainless steel grapple that can be activated by a built-in spring. These abilities allow him to easily fight with ease when surrounded by numerous enemies. When S.H.I.E.L.D walked straight into the bar, she happened to see such a scene. There were 2 submachine guns and several pistols in the bar. Others also had close-quarter weapons such as machetes and baseball bats, but this did not seem to be able to do anything to Daredevil. The stick in his hand seemed to have eyes, and it seemed that he could accurately seize every opening in the face of bullets and launch a counterattack. In the few minutes he was a melon-eater, no fewer than 10 enemies had lost their combat effectiveness. The economy is really in recession. Robbery gangs, well, they fight criminals and they also steal jobs. After finally finding out that this place belonged to S.H.I.E.L.D, who was under Gene Bin's influence, I felt a little aggrieved. He doesn't mind working with Daredevil to destroy the gang's den, but the question is, does teaming up to destroy the gang's den count as completing the mission? Even if it can be completed, I still feel a little embarrassed to reasonably obtain operation funds in front of my peers. Never mind, fight first and then talk. Seeing the bustling bar, S.H.I.E.L.D, who was burning with passion, couldn't bear it anymore and rushed in with his fists raised. If Daredevil is as gorgeous as dancing on the tip of a knife, S.H.I.E.L.D is like a rampaging buffalo. He immediately rushed in front of one of the enemies who was shooting with a submachine gun. Before anyone could react, he waved his fist and struck him 3 times in the face, abdomen, and back of the head, knocking him down neatly. Then he volleyed the submachine gun that fell on the ground like a football, hitting the head of another guy who noticed him and was about to shoot him. Then he took a step forward and kicked an enemy away, then rolled forward and hid behind a stone pillar before more guns were aimed at him. Just a few meters to the right of this pillar is behind another stone pillar, where Daredevil is hiding. "Hey buddy, good evening. What a coincidence that you are also robbing, well, fighting crime." S.H.I.E.L.D waved and said hello to the other party. However, Daredevil ignored him, jumped out from behind the pillar, and started fighting again. "What a boring person. I don't like you." S.H.I.E.L.D muttered and complained before rushing out to join the battle again. Complete the daily task and receive a reward of 100 redemption points. With S.H.I.E.L.D joining them, they defeated all the enemies in less than 5 minutes. It was quite a sight to see 40 or 50 unconscious enemies lying on the ground, but S.H.I.E.L.D felt a little guilty. Will he be too strong and kill someone? Robbery, well, just upholding justice, killing someone is still a bit unacceptable to him. "Thank you for your help, kid. But Hell's Kitchen is not a place for you to be a hero, and you shouldn't go out at night." Daredevil educated him as soon as the battle was over. Child. Only then did S.H.I.E.L.D realize that although he was almost 40 years old and his 2 lives combined, his current height was only 1.6 meters, and he hadn't even reached the stage of voice change yet. But does it matter? I am not a child, and I am a scion. This is simply an insult to me. Stop talking, let's have a fight. S.H.I.E.L.D squarely stood up to Daredevil. This is definitely not because you haven't had enough fun dealing with a group of ordinary people, absolutely not. It was obvious that S.H.I.E.L.D's reaction was beyond Daredevil's expectations. He was stunned for a moment before speaking again. "Sorry kid, I don't have time. My target has escaped, and I am going to chase him." After saying that, Daredevil turned around decisively and left here quickly. It's boring. S.H.I.E.L.D curled her lips in dissatisfaction, but did not stop him. Judging from Daredevil's expression, this guy must be in a hurry. Moreover, with Daredevil gone, wouldn't he be able to implement the reasonable acquisition of funds for justice execution plan? S.H.I.E.L.D glanced around at the fallen crowd and grinned. It's time to search. He climbed up to the 2nd floor in a few steps, glanced around, and went straight to the room with the words, "Manager's office," directly in front of him. He kicked the door open and walked in. "Robbery. Give them all to me." S.H.I.E.L.D stopped talking. Because what appeared in front of him was not the trembling gang leader in the script, but an empty office. In the corner of the office, there was a large safe with the door open. It was empty, not even a hair on it. Where's the promised lot of dollars? Thinking of Daredevil's hurried pursuit, he most likely ran away. S.H.I.E.L.D forcibly resisted the urge to pursue immediately. After all, he must have driven a car to escape, and Daredevil also rode a motorcycle, so he would definitely not be able to catch up. Being poor and unable to afford a car. I can only implement Plan B. S.H.I.E.L.D ran downstairs excitedly, like a hard-working little bee, groping at the unconscious gangsters one by one, targeting their wallets. There are some US dollars at the bar, but not a lot. After working for more than an hour, more than a dozen gangsters who woke up were knocked unconscious again. S.H.I.E.L.D finally won the title of Corpse Searcher, and got the first pot of gold for the robbery, a just cause, $3,632. Yes, 1 month is equivalent to half a month's salary from part-time work. This business is very promising, and I will no longer have to worry about food problems in the future. And to his relief, all of the downed men were breathing. It seems that people in this world are still very capable of resisting attacks. Perhaps it is the racial talent of the troubled New Yorkers. Make a fortune. Well, S.H.I.E.L.D, who successfully attacked the evil forces, left here happily and went back to sleep. Starting today in Hell's Kitchen, there will be a superhero who regards money as his life and is crazy about searching for corpses. Chapter 5, Stealing the Blind Man's Cane. Daily mission: you can see clearly better than ordinary people, but you still have to pretend not to see it. Steal this shameless man's crutch. The mission requirement is Daredevil's Bilip, and the mission reward is 100 redemption points. When S.H.I.E.L.D. woke up and saw her new daily task, she felt confused. When I went to seek justice last night, I did feel a little unhappy when I saw Daredevil, but the system actually asked him to do such an unscrupulous thing as grabbing a blind man's crutch. It turns out you are like this system. He felt that for the first time he discovered the troublesome side of the system. But I have to say that this mission is still very interesting. For S.H.I.E.L.D., who knows Daredevil's true identity, it doesn't seem to be difficult. Lying in bed, I opened Google on my phone and searched for the 3 keywords Hell's Kitchen, Matt Murdock, and lawyer, and easily found the law firm where Daredevil's true identity was. I originally planned to just pretend to be a customer and come to the door, but unfortunately this guy's appointment has been scheduled for a week later. I didn't expect that this guy's business was not bad. In this case, we can only go directly to the door. I climbed to the rooftop to practice Lang Fong Fong Fist for an hour, went to the burger restaurant I had been craving for a long time to have breakfast, took a taxi on S.H.I.E.L.D. and rushed to Daredevil Matt's law office. It is worth mentioning that S.H.I.E.L.D. was surrounded by onlookers when he ate a dozen burgers in one go. By the end of the meal, everyone around him cheered every time he ate a burger. It can only be said that European and American people are very happy, which makes S.H.I.E.L.D. have a dark look on his face. Matt's law firm is still very busy, but this does not affect S.H.I.E.L.D.'s plans. He walked directly to the front desk and said with a smile, "Hello, I'd like to find lawyer Matt Murdock." "Little boy, are you lost? This is not a police station." The 70-year-old beauty at the front desk was stunned for a moment, then smiled when she saw that the speaker was an Asian boy. This girl S.H.I.E.L.D. has an impression that she is Daredevil's daytime lawyer's assistant and an ambiguous partner, named Karen Page. But, a little boy. S.H.I.E.L.D. thought of her height of 1.6 meters and her childish voice again, and her face turned dark. "I'm not a little boy. Forget it, just tell lawyer Matt, stop talking and come have a fight, and he will definitely meet me." S.H.I.E.L.D. said depressedly. "So you are a little girl? Okay, I'll tell lawyer Matt, but I don't think he will fight with a kid like you." Karen teased S.H.I.E.L.D., and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s face became more and more serious. It was getting darker and darker, so he quickly raised his hands in a gesture of surrender, stood up and walked into lawyer Matt's office. In less than a minute, Karen walked out of the office with a strange look on her face. "Go in, lawyer Matt wants to see you now." Originally, she just wanted to tell the matter to lawyer Matt as a joke, but she didn't expect that lawyer Matt not only agreed to meet the little boy, but also postponed the subsequent appointment, which made her feel very incredible. It was impossible for S.H.I.E.L.D. to explain to her. He brushed past her with a dark face and snorted. He was very unhappy with the little girl, Karen called her, and he couldn't beat her up, so he could only express his dissatisfaction in this childish way. Entering the office, lawyer Matt sat behind his desk and looked at him. S.H.I.E.L.D. glanced around and immediately found the crutch, leaning against lawyer Matt's hand. "Who are you? Who sent you here?" Lawyer Matt asked coldly. "I am the handsome partner of justice. It was peace and justice that brought me here." Hearing this, S.H.I.E.L.D. immediately straightened his back and said righteously. Matt didn't expect S.H.I.E.L.D. to say this at all, and he had never heard such shameless words before, and was stunned for a moment. S.H.I.E.L.D., who finished being a demon, sighed and said again, "Don't worry, it was just an accident that I learned about your true identity. I will not tell anyone else. I came to you just because I like you, off your crutch." After saying that, he spread his hands again. "We were partners fighting side by side yesterday. You won't give up this little face, right? My crutches." Matt was stunned again. He was very wary of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just after meeting him last night, I figured out his true identity, and his origins are definitely not simple. But what do you need his crutch for? Although half of his body is on crutches, his crutches do not have any black technology worthy of being coveted by some forces. What conspiracy does the other party have? Sorry, I don't know you well, so I won't give you the crutch. Thinking of this, he decisively shook his head and refused. No matter what, just don't let the other party succeed. It's great, I mean it's too bad. It seems that we can only have a fight. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s eyes flashed, and as soon as he finished speaking, he jumped up from the sofa excitedly and punched to Matt's head. That's right. S.H.I.E.L.D never thought about other plans, or even considered whether the task could be completed. He just wanted to find a fight with someone who was evenly matched. The so-called daily tasks just gave myself an excuse to fight. Unlike the battle with the gangster, S.H.I.E.L.D's battle with Daredevil Matt is more enjoyable to watch. Although the two of them restrained themselves in unison so as not to damage the office environment and tried not to make any noise, the battle was still very intense, like an action movie. S.H.I.E.L.D's movements are faster and more powerful, but Matt is more agile and has more versatile moves. In terms of combat effectiveness, S.H.I.E.L.D is higher than Matt, but Matt's 360-degree sensing ability is like the Byakugan in Naruto, and its effectiveness in close combat is outstanding. Pa bang bang. The two of them met their opponents in chess and met their talents, and the whole room was filled with the sound of fists and kicks. The game lasted for more than 3 minutes without a winner. S.H.I.E.L.D's body was only 14 years old, and her endurance was much lower than that of Daredevil in his prime, and he quickly fell behind. But S.H.I.E.L.D, who was struggling and panting, didn't feel any panic or hatred about the imminent failure. Instead, her eyes became brighter and brighter. How cool! Encountering an opponent whose skills were similar to or even stronger than his own, S.H.I.E.L.D could only feel the adrenaline content in his blood soaring rapidly, and the more he fought, the better he felt. I guess this is what the legendary drug addiction feels like, right? He even thought about continuing to fight until he could defeat this enemy. Fortunately, his sense is still there, telling him that it is more important to grab the blind man's crutch. However, at this moment, Matt suddenly changed his moves and struck with a punch. S.H.I.E.L.D crossed his hands in front of him and was knocked back. He took advantage of the situation and kicked the opponent back. The distance between the two sides was more than 1 meter. For a moment, Matt's continuous attacks were interrupted for a moment. Such a good opportunity, just throw away the crutches and all that, I can't bear it anymore. S.H.I.E.L.D decisively took the opportunity to get into a stance, concentrating all the strength of her body on her right fist. Lang Fong Wind Fist. Chapter 6 Neuropathy. There is a very strange feeling when using the Langya Fong Fong. It seems that there is an electric current running through the body from the soles of the feet, and finally concentrated on the fists. Strawberry punched out, with a faint wolf howling sound. As Daredevil, Matt is proficient in a variety of fighting skills and has a lot of knowledge. In his induction, S.H.I.E.L.D's heartbeat instantly accelerated, and the punch speed was astonishing. There was no doubt that this punch must be extremely powerful. But it was too late to hide at this time. He could only barely turn his body sideways and swing his arms to try to push S.H.I.E.L.D's attack away. But S.H.I.E.L.D's arm was like a speeding truck. Matt didn't push it much, and could only deflect S.H.I.E.L.D's attack slightly. After a slight avoidance, the punch hit his right shoulder. The huge force coming from his fist surprised him, and he quickly exerted force on his toes to lift his body off the ground, and at the same time rotated his body in the direction of the force. After spinning for 2.5 weeks, he hit the wall of the office with a thud, and his legs went weak and he almost fell to the ground. The severe pain even made it difficult for him to breathe for a while, and a trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth with a cough, but he immediately put on his posture as if nothing was wrong, preparing to continue to face S.H.I.E.L.D's attack. If he hadn't released this blow, he would have been seriously injured and lost his combat effectiveness. It's broken, excessive force. You won't kill this guy, right? Huh. It seems okay. Compared to Matt's calmness, S.H.I.E.L.D was shocked. Strawberry breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Matt was ready to continue fighting. If I killed a superhero, those Marvel fans in my ES life would probably fight me. It's better not to die. S.H.I.E.L.D glanced to the side and suddenly grinned. No, Bilip. Matt saw S.H.I.E.L.D's actions, reacted immediately, kicked off his feet and rushed towards the desk to try to stop him. But S.H.I.E.L.D was closer to the desk. He reached out and grabbed the crutch in his hand. He rushed to the door in 2 or 3 steps. He happened to meet Karen, who heard the noise and opened the door to check. He didn't stop. The shortman got out from under Karen's arm and rushed out of the office. Ah. Lawyer Matt, what's wrong with you? Is that boy here to rob? Karen was stunned for a moment, and then suddenly realized that the room was in a mess, and saw the blood on the corners of Matt's pale face, and couldn't help but scream. Road. I'm fine. Matt waved his hand. That boy just snatched my crutch. Crutches. Karen was confused. Grab a cane. Why grab the crutches? Is there gold hidden in Attorney Matt's crutch? On the other side, S.H.I.E.L.D had just taken a few steps when the system prompt that the daily task was completed sounded. 35XS. It was just different from what he thought. The crutch in his hand did not disappear out of thin air and be taken away by the system. Fortunately, he had a lot of imagination, thinking that the system needed the special items of the superheroes in this world to absorb the power of destiny inside, world recognition, luck, etc. I even thought carefully about how to trick Iron Man into giving him a set of Iron Man suits for a long time. Does it turn out that he doesn't need it at all? Turns out he was breaking the system just to stir up trouble and get himself into a fight with Daredevil. S.H.I.E.L.D seemed to realize the unscrupulous nature of the system. The key question is, what to do with this crutch? Taking it away feels like offending someone. After all, we are colleagues, and we still need to build a good relationship. But when I send it back, I feel like a 100-pound lunatic. After standing there and thinking for a long time, S.H.I.E.L.D decided to send it back. Just be crazy, I'm a decent character. After all, Daredevil is blind and a vulnerable group. Bullying like this will affect his reputation. Walking into Matt's law firm again, walked to the front desk, slapped the cane in front of the stunned Karen. S.H.I.E.L.D struggled to pull out an awkward yet polite smile. Well, if I say this, I just picked it up on the roadside, would you believe it? Karen, I'm afraid this kid is a psycho. The matter of snatching Daredevil's crutches was like an episode in his summer night life. In the blink of an eye, he had been doing daily tasks for a month, and he had won 2 prizes for the accumulated redemption points. It's a pity that the true nature of the African Emirates was exposed, and what he got was a pair of sunglasses and a pair of original underwear. S.H.I.E.L.D also figured out the rewards of daily tasks. Most of the tasks rewarded 15 to 30 points. Occasionally, there were 50-point rewards, and 100-point rewards. The task of redeeming point rewards has never been seen before after grabbing Daredevil's crutch. Life has also improved a lot in S.H.I.E.L.D. Not only did I no longer have to worry about food, I also rented a 200-square-meter house in Hell's Kitchen and did some shopping. Robbery, well, fighting gangs is indeed a highly profitable profession. Working 4 to 5 hours a day can earn an average of tens of thousands of dollars. Recently, the reputation of Uzumaki man who likes to knock people unconscious and search their wallets has gradually spread. Gangsters are beginning to be reluctant to bring cash, and business profitability has begun to decline. Maybe we should try taking the initiative to crack down on gang dens. Just when S.H.I.E.L.D was on the roof of a certain building, facing the bright night sky, stroking his chin and starting to plan how to reasonably increase the income from justice execution funds, a strong sense of crisis suddenly enveloped him. He immediately jumped up in a backflip with his hands on the ground, and a playing card made a slit in his mask, silently crossing the spot where his neck had just been. Playing cards? S.H.I.E.L.D was surprised, but she kept moving. After landing, she immediately dodged and hid behind a wall. However, the moment there was a ding in his ears, and a cross dart flew over, bounced off the concrete fence of the rooftop, and hit his head straight. S.H.I.E.L.D quickly lowered his head and hit at the critical moment again. But this is just the beginning. Then more than a dozen hidden weapons of various kinds collided with the terrain around him, some even bounced 3 or 4 times, some fast and some slow, flying towards him from all kinds of incredible angles. S.H.I.E.L.D didn't even know where the enemy was, so she could only avoid it as much as possible. If she couldn't avoid it, she barely avoided the vital point. In just 10 seconds, she had several wounds on her body. He clearly felt that the hidden weapon was becoming more and more powerful, indicating that the enemy was slowly approaching here. If this continues, when the enemy approaches, he will probably not have much combat power left, and he may even be killed. Damn it, does this guy have a 4th-dimensional pocket? Where do all these hidden weapons come from? Can't stay in one place. S.H.I.E.L.D had a thought, and regardless of her injuries, she jumped up from behind the wall and planned to find another bunker. With the moonlight behind her, she finally saw the appearance of the enemy clearly. He is a middle-aged man with a mustache, bright eyes, bald head, thick eyebrows, and big eyes. The most impressive thing is that the target hit the forehead. Damn it, isn't this a Bullseye, Chapter 7 Bullseye? S.H.I.E.L.D really couldn't understand why Bullseye came to the door. Although he has been fighting gangsters recently, after all, the daily mission did not name Kingpin. In addition to Gene Bin's power, the Russian mafia and the Japanese hand are also within his attack range. Sometimes the Hong gang in Chinatown will intervene when they do bad things. Compared to Daredevil, he was definitely not on Kingpin's must-kill list, and he even doubted whether Kingpin had ever heard of his name. But the result was that, without any warning, he suddenly became the target of Bullseye. Was Kingpin so narrow-minded? Daredevil. Hidden weapon stopped, Bullseye shook his leather trench coat, tilted his head, and asked from a distance. "No, I'm, Uzumaki-man." S.H.I.E.L.D breathed a sigh of relief when he saw no hidden weapons flying over. Then he remembered that he hadn't given himself a resounding nickname yet, so he could only spread Hell's Kitchen. The nickname came out. By the way, it turns out that this guy came to see Daredevil. Have I become a scapegoat? Interesting. Bullseye grinned, looking a little evil for no reason, the kind of smile that emoticons, "You are so sexy." Then he ducked down, just in time to avoid the knife coming from behind him. Upon closer inspection, the attacker turned out to be a girl. With S.H.I.E.L.D stunned, the girl and Bullseye fought together in the blink of an eye. Isn't this Erica? She is the silly girl who regards her boyfriend Daredevil as the murderer of her father. If this was the plot of the movie, this girl should have just stabbed Daredevil. No, if this is the plot of the movie, Daredevil's assistant should be a chubby man, but Daredevil's assistant is obviously Karen. Daredevil is cheating and trying to do both. What a scumbag. Confused for a moment, S.H.I.E.L.D came back to her senses. Her first reaction was to look around for the unlucky Daredevil to ridicule. Well, to comfort her and enhance the friendship between the two parties, and then she found Erica, a stupid girl. He was knocked down and thrown out after the round, landing not far from him. You did a good job, baby, I praise you. But. Bullseye stretched out a hand, smiled and flicked it, and a playing card appeared out of thin air in his hand. I can do magic. Brush. The playing card flew towards Erica's neck, but was caught by a hand. You actually think that I don't exist and my sense of existence is so weak? S.H.I.E.L.D threw the playing cards aside and said with a dark face. He finally figured it out. This guy knew from the beginning that he was not Daredevil. Attacking yourself because you're bored? Fun. In short, he can be sure of one thing, he has been underestimated. And if he sees Erica die in front of his eyes, Daredevil will probably fight for him. You should run away. Bullseye still smiled and flew out a playing card again, and S.H.I.E.L.D dodged it sideways. 35 XS. Your boyfriend came to fight when you didn't save him after you stabbed him. Are you stupid? S.H.I.E.L.D ignored Bullseye and turned to Erica and said. No. Erica struggled to stand up with a frosty face. I must kill him. Matt, your girlfriend doesn't love you anymore. Erica rushed towards Bullseye again. S.H.I.E.L.D shook her head with a wry smile and followed Erica. I'm still eager to challenge Bullseye to a duel, and I have to bring a girl with me. Well, at least with someone to help, completing the side quest shouldn't be a problem. It stands to reason that Bullseye's combat effectiveness should be inferior to Daredevil's, and it should be easy to defeat him 2-on-1 with Erica, but in fact this is not the case. The last time the two fought over Daredevil's crutch, it wasn't a life-or-death battle, but more of a competition. Bullseye's purpose in every move was to take his life, and the sense of urgency was completely different. Moreover, he and Erica had no tacit understanding at all, and their attacks sometimes even hindered each other. For a moment, S.H.I.E.L.D and Erica were at a disadvantage. What's even more annoying is that Erica's fighting ability is really poor, and Bullseye also grasps this, often forcing S.H.I.E.L.D to provide support. S.H.I.E.L.D couldn't help scolding her in her heart, saying that this woman had no brains and was being deceived without telling anyone. It would really delay things at a critical moment. He dodged a hidden weapon that appeared inexplicably behind his back, and a cut was made behind his ear. A life-and-death battle is completely different from a sparring match. Bullseye even ignores attacks that can seriously injure him, but still wants to strike at his fatal spot, without hesitation to trade his injuries for his life. In this situation, S.H.I.E.L.D could only give up attacking, block or dodge. The problem is, the continuous injuries caused pain all over the body. Although they were minor injuries, it would be a problem if they were dragged down and they only bleed. S.H.I.E.L.D, who was concentrating on blocking Bullseye's attack, was anxious. If this continued, not only Erika, but also herself might be in danger. If this continues, within a few minutes, one of him or Erika will fall. Then it will be time to face Bullseye alone. S.H.I.E.L.D. still had confidence in himself before the fight started, but after seeing Bullseye's madness, he felt really confused now. Try that trick. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s heart moved, and she took a step back despite Bullseye's attack. A hidden weapon pierced his shoulder with a pop sound, penetrating more than 3 inches into his flesh. While Bullseye had just parried an attack from Erika and was using his new energy to survive, he stood up from the ground and punched out, Lang Fong Wind Fist. The speed and power of the Wolf Fong Wind Fist were much stronger than his ES attacks. Bullseye was taken aback, but it was too late to react. The punch landed on his chest unstoppably, and the power spurted out without reservation, knocking him away with one punch. This guy had to fight S.H.I.E.L.D. and the others on the rooftop fence. He punched Bullseye directly out of the rooftop. Bullseye freely fell from a height of more than 10 stories, hitting a lot of things, and landed with a thud at the roof of a car parked on the roadside downstairs. The side mission is completed and you will receive 500 reward redemption points. Done. S.H.I.E.L.D. gritted her teeth and covered the wound on her shoulder and looked down from the rooftop. Bullseye was lying there quietly, and the surrounding vehicles were whining and calling the police. This guy didn't even say a few lines. He was really dead. Awful. Turning around, Erika, who was also injured a lot, ran away without even saying hello. Following the direction in which she ran, S.H.I.E.L.D. finally saw Daredevil, the unlucky star tonight, who was being helped to stand up by Erika. Do you think of your boyfriend now? Oh, woman. S.H.I.E.L.D. endured the pain and pulled out the hidden weapon stuck in his shoulder. He had suffered many injuries in the past month, and was even shot, and now he was no longer afraid of pain. Slowly walked up to the suffering couple and grinned, Matt, you are so miserable tonight. Remember, you owe me a favor, remember to treat me to dinner. When Erika heard Daredevil's real name being called, she became vigilant again and raised her weapon. This woman is so ungrateful, I just saved her life. Matt held Erika down with a smile on his face. Of course, there is a restaurant on 43rd Street that you must like. You can come to me at any time. Of course, preferably during the day. Chapter 8 Turtle Shell. S.H.I.E.L.D. kindly sent Matt home with Erika that night. As a good friend, he even helped Erika take care of the seriously injured Matt for 2 hours. As a qualified light bulb, he didn't leave until Matt promised to buy him an extra meal. Maybe Matt thought he had made a profit, but he would definitely experience the fear of being dominated by a scion's appetite. Of course, he doesn't stay at Matt's house just to be a light bulb. He asked Matt's story in detail and finally determined that it was the plot of the movie. Based on the fact that both Matt's father and Erika's father had a rose on their chests when they died, he concluded that they both died at the target. In the hands of the Eye's employer, Kingpin. The two were filled with indignation and wanted to go find Jean Bing immediately, but S.H.I.E.L.D. stopped them because the matter still needed to be investigated, and they agreed to go find Jean Bing and trouble them together. S.H.I.E.L.D. was actually very anxious. News about Spider-Man Peter Parker has begun to appear in newspapers recently, and I don't know when the Spider-Man plot will be entered. If you don't complete the main mission in time, you might miss another mission. S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't want to take this risk. The only thing he has to worry about is whether Matt will choose not to inform him after the truth is found out. For this reason, S.H.I.E.L.D. also made up an inspirational story about his father was killed by the Kingpin, and a Chinese boy founded the United States alone. God will not forgive him, but fortunately he does not believe in God. It is worth mentioning that after the side tasks were completed, new side tasks did not appear. Maybe the mission will be updated after the main mission is completed. S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't dwell on this, and now he was even more looking forward to the draw. He has been coveting the turtle immortal fluid technique for a long time. Maybe he can understand the turtle school qigong after practicing it to a certain extent. It was 4 o'clock in the morning when he got home. He was a little sleepy, but he still managed to take a shower and change clothes. Being an atheist, he even knelt in front of the window and told God, Tathagata Buddha, Sancheng Patriarch, Guan Iri, etc. He prayed to every god he could think of. After all, there is such a thing as the Traveler Management Association. Maybe gods and other things also exist, right? If nothing else, Odin is educating his 2 children in Asgard. After completing this series of rituals religiously, S.H.I.E.L.D began to draw the lottery. The first lottery prize was a good one, a pair of overalls. It was the pants of the little pig that had little roll and could transform, and was stuffed directly into the trash can by S.H.I.E.L.D. The second draw finally yielded something useful, a 40 kilograms turtle shell weight. Turtle shell. How can I possibly use this thing? It's just a weight-bearing thing, why not buy some lead bars and tie them to your body? Even if I starve to death, even if I jump from here, I will never exercise with a turtle shell on my back. However, after trying it out of curiosity, S.H.I.E.L.D immediately decided to carry this on her back whenever she didn't go out. 35XS because I don't know how this thing works, it doesn't hinder body movements at all. The weight actually acts on the whole body. It's like I have gained 40 kilograms for nothing. All-round physical exercise is much more effective than tying lead bars. What more can be said? So delicious. Matt's investigation was very fast, and in just 1 week, the results of the investigation confirmed Kingpin's crime and the identity of the gang boss. One sunny noon and summer night came to Matt's house. Erica poured him a cup of coffee. It seemed that she had adapted well to her status as a live-in girlfriend. S.H.I.E.L.D took a close look at Matt's face for the first time. He was wearing sunglasses, but he was still handsome. This proves that as long as you are handsome, you can find a girlfriend even if you are blind. Fortunately, although S.H.I.E.L.D is only 14 years old, it can still be seen that he is a handsome boy and he is very confident. So you plan to hand over the evidence to the police and let the law punish him? S.H.I.E.L.D felt inexplicable about Matt's decision. Yes. I'm not a bad person, and I can't hurt others out of hatred. Matt said with a smile, holding Erica's hand beside him. Erica also supports my decision. I don't quite understand your thoughts. As a lawyer, you should know that in the United States, the law serves capital. And is this the end of your father's hatred? S.H.I.E.L.D asked. Justice will always come. The law cannot judge them, so I will take action. Matt said seriously. Okay, if you insist. S.H.I.E.L.D spread his hands. Tell me where Kingpin is and I will talk to him alone tonight. Yourself? No, it's too dangerous. Matt frowned. It doesn't matter, I'm measured. S.H.I.E.L.D smiled confidently. I will keep his life and leave it to you two to judge. I just want him to pay a small price. The price? Matt's face became very strange. He knew that S.H.I.E.L.D liked to rob gangsters, and he always felt that Kingpin was in big trouble. If S.H.I.E.L.D doesn't want Gene Bin's life, then what does he want? Well, I guess Kingpin will be bleeding heavily tonight. Okay, let me tell you. Kingpin's headquarters is. Matt finally gave S.H.I.E.L.D the information. Although he couldn't take action casually due to his position, he would still be happy if S.H.I.E.L.D could teach Gene Bing a lesson. That night, S.H.I.E.L.D, wearing a black cloak with auspicious cloud patterns, came downstairs of a skyscraper. This is where the Kingpin is located according to the intel provided by Matt. Regardless of whether it is in comics, games, or film and television works, the depiction of Kingpin is not much different. A tall, bald man who looks fat, but those are not fat, they are all solid muscles. He is proficient in various fighting techniques and has amazing strength. He can break an adult's neck with his bare hands. Although he has no superpowers, he is basically at the peak of combat power that normal humans can achieve. But S.H.I.E.L.D wasn't worried at all. The effect of the weight of the turtle shell is surprising. In just 1 week, his combat effectiveness almost doubled, reaching 28 points. There was no deliberate training, the process of becoming stronger came naturally, and the results were gratifying. The biggest good news is that the Scion's strong body has finally begun to show its power. He was shot twice while executing justice a few days ago. It did not cause any wounds to him, but there were some bruises where he was shot. He is now completely beyond the level of normal human combat power. Since he wasn't afraid of firearms, he didn't find it difficult to kill a Kingpin. He walked around to the side of the building, avoiding the busy streets, and climbed up a few floors along the bulges in the wall. Then he found an open window and got in. He found a safe passage and climbed the stairs directly to the top floor. He was afraid that Kingpin would run away. If he hid somewhere hard to find, he would be in trouble if he wanted to complete his mission. But what S.H.I.E.L.D didn't know was that Gene Bin's people had already discovered him since he entered the building. Chapter 9 Abuse of Money. We are fully prepared, he will not affect you. Strawberry. Gene Bin's deputy stood behind Gene Bin, lowered his head and reported the report respectfully. No, withdraw all the guards and give them a day off tonight. Gene Bin stood in the building, holding his crystal scepter. The deputy opened his mouth to say something, but in the end he bowed his head and said, yes. In Hell's Kitchen, Kingpin's will is above all else. As a result, S.H.I.E.L.D climbed to the top floor smoothly without even encountering a guard, and went straight to Gene Bin's office. S.H.I.E.L.D was disappointed when he opened the door and saw Gene Bin, who had taken off his suit jacket, leaving only a vest with his back to him, waiting quietly. In the movie, Kingpin did withdraw all the guards and challenge Daredevil after Bullseye failed, but now it has been a week since Bullseye failed, and it is not sure whether the Kingpin of this world is the one in the movie. That. He also thought about fighting all the way through the level, which would be very enjoyable. I thought I would see you a week ago. Where's Daredevil? The guy in the tights didn't come with you. Kingpin turned around and said calmly. Now you can be sure, this is definitely not the Kingpin in the movie. The Kingpin in the movie was black, and this one is white. After all, is this world a comic book world or a movie world? Fortunately, in the movie world, the highest force in the world is Thanos. If Strawberry were in the comic book world, the four gods of the celestial tribunal of life would be a bit difficult to deal with. This thought swirled around in S.H.I.E.L.D's head and was immediately thrown aside. He walked into the office leisurely, sat down on the sofa on the side, leaned on the back of the sofa, crossed his legs, and tried his best to conceal his age in a low voice. He has evidence of your crime and plans to let the law try you. I think they can't do it, it's easier to kill you. Of course, he couldn't let Kingpin survive the night, because the mission required killing. As for the promise to Matt and the others, isn't it normal to be unable to hold back during a fight? They will forgive. I have to say that S.H.I.E.L.D has matured a lot since starting the mission. Ever since I witnessed a gang leader committing a crazy crime and killed him out of anger, I no longer felt any psychological pressure to take the life of the bad guy. It's like buying a new pair of shoes. You cherish them so that they don't get dusty, but once they do, it doesn't matter. It's easier to kill me. Haha, boy, you are a naive guy, and so is Daredevil. Are all the people from Hell's Kitchen like you now? Kingpin seemed to have heard a joke and smiled happily. Strawberry. Or do you see that I am just a child now? But it doesn't matter, this guy is going to die soon anyway. S.H.I.E.L.D sat upright. Why have you done so many bad things? Wealth? Power. He stared closely at Gene Bin's face and said in a deep voice, you don't know what kind of era this is. In the new era, strength is everything. You are destined to be eliminated. Facts will inevitably prove that you are the naive one. It seems we have different ideas. Kingpin said with a smile. Yes, we have different ideas. S.H.I.E.L.D nodded. This kind of American conversation was very interesting. S.H.I.E.L.D expressed satisfaction and secretly praised her calm performance. But unfortunately, the conversation could not continue. When S.H.I.E.L.D finished speaking, Gene Bin's scepter had already swept towards his head. S.H.I.E.L.D did not dodge, nor did she need to dodge, she just raised her arm lightly. Bang. There was a muffled sound. The scepter that could easily smash skulls in normal times did not cause any harm to S.H.I.E.L.D, and Gene Bin's face suddenly darkened. You can continue. If you get hurt, I will lose. S.H.I.E.L.D said calmly and pretending. In fact, it hurt a lot this time, a little less painful than being shot. But just to show off, what's the pain? Gene Bin obviously would not admit defeat like this, so he struck out with force again, this time with a smashing stick. S.H.I.E.L.D reacted quickly. One hand quickly reached out to grab Gene Bin's scepter, and the other hand pressed on the wall behind the sofa. He was doing this to relieve his stress, otherwise the sofa under his butt would surely suffer, and his performance would be lowered if he sat on it. Snapped. There was another muffled sound, and S.H.I.E.L.D grabbed Gene Bin's scepter. It has to be said that Gene Bin's strength is indeed great. When the stick went down, the wall instantly cracked centered on S.H.I.E.L.D's palm, and the entire office seemed to be shaking. But this had no effect on S.H.I.E.L.D, he still sat where he was. Is there any coffee? I'm a little thirsty. S.H.I.E.L.D said with a smile. Jinbin tried to pull the scepter back from S.H.I.E.L.D's hand, but the scepter seemed to be welded to S.H.I.E.L.D's palm and could not be pulled away. Kingpin's heart was filled with turmoil. Is this guy who looks 14 or 15 years old really just a child? How could he have any great power? Surprised, he would not give in so easily. After realizing that he couldn't take back the scepter, he immediately raised his fist and hit S.H.I.E.L.D in the face. This made S.H.I.E.L.D angry. Don't you know whether to slap someone in the face or not? Finally, we have a handsome face in this world. What if we break it? The angry S.H.I.E.L.D struck without mercy, raised her foot and kicked Jinbin in the chest. His attack speed was much faster than Jinbin's. Jinbin's fist was only 10 centimeters away from his face, and S.H.I.E.L.D's foot had already landed on Jinbin's chest. Kingpin's 450-pound body rose into the air and hit the opposite wall like a cannonball, denting the hard cement wall. Ahem, you are a mutant. Kingpin struggled to stand up while clutching his chest, with a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth. The blow damaged his internal organs. No, I'm an ordinary person. S.H.I.E.L.D shook his head, patted his butt and stood up, smiling strangely. It seems that the facts prove that my theory is correct. Dare you slap me in the face? I just considered for a second whether I should let this guy go this time and do a second brush with Daredevil in a few days. Now it seems that I'd better kill him. S.H.I.E.L.D walked toward Jinbin with clenched fists, thinking about how to make Jinbin willingly hand over justice funds before his death. The small body made the tall Kingpin retreat repeatedly, and the scene looked very inconsistent. No, I can give you money. Kingpin said in a panic. What happened tonight was completely beyond his expectation. According to the intelligence, this kid was at most a little stronger than Daredevil. How could he be so powerful? This made him feel panicked for the first time in a long time. Money. S.H.I.E.L.D's eyes lit up. Chapter 10 System Update. S.H.I.E.L.D was having a headache how to get Jinbin's money, but he didn't expect Jinbin to be so proactive. What a good comrade who supports a just cause. It made me not want to be cruel anymore. Strawberry. It's a good idea. Then, please think carefully, how much is your life worth? S.H.I.E.L.D squatted down and looked at the miserable Jinbin with a smile on his face, touching his chin like a treacherous villain. Jinbin was stunned by S.H.I.E.L.D's reaction. Aren't superheroes just idiots who regard money as dirt? How could there be such a refreshing and refined thing? $100 million. I can pay you right away. Jinbin immediately made an offer. In any case, it is a good thing to be able to solve the problem with money, and a person who likes money may be able to be controlled. In just a few seconds, he had even thought of a subsequent bribery plan. However, he underestimated the extent of S.H.I.E.L.D's shamelessness. Are you looking down on yourself too much? S.H.I.E.L.D looked surprised. Your apparent assets exceed $400 billion, and your secret assets are even more numerous. You just want to send me $1 million. Those are fixed assets. I don't have that much liquidity. Jinbin explained quickly. Then I have nothing to do with it. This way, I won't let you go bankrupt. $200 billion is enough. Just pay it tonight. S.H.I.E.L.D reached out and patted Jinbin on the shoulder and handed him a bank card. 35 XS, just put it into this card. You have 3 hours. Whether you can complete this arduous task depends on your desire to survive. Even if he has never run a company, he knows that it is impossible to wipe out Jinbin's assets in such a short period of time. After all, many assets need to be discounted. But he didn't ask for too much, because even if Jinbin wanted to transfer assets to his name, he couldn't do it. He was a black account, and his bank cards were all handled by his boss when he was working before. Impossible. You are robbing. Kingpin shouted angrily. No, you're wrong, it's faster than robbery. S.H.I.E.L.D responded with a smile. 3 hours later. S.H.I.E.L.D took her bank card and walked out of Jinbin's building with a strange look on her face. Just when Jin Jiang handed him the bank card containing $200 billion, the system actually prompted that the task was completed. So S.H.I.E.L.D, who got the benefit, didn't attack Jinbin anymore, but just knocked him out with one punch. Let this guy go and leave it to Daredevil, let them continue to love and kill each other, maybe that guy Matt will thank him. Before leaving, he also ransacked the safe in Gene Bin's office in front of him and took away at least $200,000 in cash. In this way, the kill mentioned in the mission does not mean killing, but can probably be understood as defeating or making him submit. This is nothing but a good thing for S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, he quite likes villains like Princess Loki. The key problem is that after finishing Kingpin, the main mission and side mission options disappeared. Is there something wrong with the system? It doesn't matter even if you can't complete the mission or draw the lottery, your scion physique is your biggest reliance. Strawberry, but what if the scion physique also disappears? S.H.I.E.L.D. was worried about this. If you have the chance, you must complain to the Traveler Management Association. S.H.I.E.L.D. gritted his teeth and muttered to himself. Let's draw the lottery first. On the way home, S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't want to engage in any rituals and decisively pressed the lottery button. After completing the task of killing Kingpin, I received 1,000 redemption points. In addition to the original more than 4 redemption points, I can draw times, which just meets the requirements for the carousel upgrade. After 4 draws, I was honored not to find a single useful item, and everything was thrown into the trash can on the roadside. The turntable is upgraded, the system is being updated. The update is complete. The novice mission system is closed and the lottery system is closed. The battle system is online and the mall system is online. There was only a dialogue box left in the light curtain in front of me, and it returned to normal after a few seconds. As expected, the tasks and carousels disappeared, replaced by a dazzling shopping mall. All lottery prizes can be purchased in the mall, and there are also many that are not available in the mall. At the same time, many of the products are limited to purchase, such as the most coveted fairy beans in the summer night. The price is 100,000 redemption points, and the purchase limit is 50. So what is the combat system? As soon as the idea came to S.H.I.E.L.D., a page popped up in front of him, explaining it to him in detail. To put it simply, from now on, he does not have to complete tasks to redeem points, he only needs to defeat others. Regardless of whether you defeat a positive character or a villain, as long as you defeat it for the first time, you will receive redemption points according to the opponent's combat power. As long as the opponent's combat power is above 10 points, each point of combat power will allow him to obtain 1 exchange point. System Consulting Assistant. Quite convenient. After confirming that the system was only revised and not disappeared, S.H.I.E.L.D. breathed a long sigh of relief and continued walking home. Tonight, he got a total of $200 billion, and he planned to use it all to buy Stark Industries stock before Tony Stark came back. At the same time, it was time to resolve his identity as a gangster. He was worried that Kingpin would do anything to his $1 billion. Fortunately, he traveled to a free America where almost everything could be solved with money. In a blink of an eye, the day, S.H.I.E.L.D. went to the bank to withdraw $5 million in cash as soon as she got up, and went straight to a law firm in Hell's Kitchen that had excellent business but a bad reputation. She didn't even eat breakfast before making an appointment. The lawyer plans to have a face-to-face discussion on household registration issues. Although Matt is also a lawyer, it is obviously not appropriate to do this kind of illegal thing with a guy with a strong sense of justice. I need to obtain U.S. residency by 4 o'clock today. Your request is an illegal operation. Bah. S.H.I.E.L.D. decisively bought a pile of U.S. dollars, a total of 100 million. This is not a matter of commission, we. Pa. Another $100 million was slapped on the table. Registration in the United States requires a green card for 5 years. Pop. The third pile of US dollars appeared. No problem, I need 2 1-inch bareheaded photos of you. Come and pick up your ID at 4 o'clock this afternoon. It's absolutely legal. The United States is really a paradise for rich people. It feels so good to throw money at people. After experiencing the nouveau riche S.H.I.E.L.D., my whole body felt dizzy and I felt like I was walking differently. He went to his usual restaurant and ordered a lot of high-calorie junk food, happily starting to fill his empty stomach. However, just after taking a few bites, the happy mood disappeared. Hello, Mr. S.H.I.E.L.D., nice to meet you. A middle-aged man in a black suit, with a hairline that broke through the sky, but his hair was combed meticulously, and a gentle smile on his face sat down opposite him. On the chair. Phil Coulson, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. How did this guy come? I clearly haven't shown any abilities that go beyond common sense. Chapter 11 Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. raised her head and looked at him with a very distant tone. Your outfit and behavior remind me of the American agents in the movie, and I don't like them, so please stay away from me. You guessed it right, Mr. S.H.I.E.L.D., I am an agent and affiliated with the FBI. This is my ID. Coulson took out a book of ID and showed it in front of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm investigating a case, can I talk to you? I really want to say no. But do I have a choice? S.H.I.E.L.D. continued stuffing burgers into her mouth nonchalantly, but her heart was not as calm as she showed. He is still very weak now, so it would be okay if he is exposed to S.H.I.E.L.D., but there is a problem if he is exposed to the eyes of Hydra, which is parasitic to S.H.I.E.L.D. As a villain organization, they don't have the same boundaries as S.H.I.E.L.D., maybe he'll be caught and sliced. 2 months ago, a new street hero in Hell's Kitchen appeared in black robes and a threaded mask, and last night he attacked Wilson Fisk and extorted over $10 billion in funds. What do you think about this? What do you want to say? Coulson took out a tablet and played a video, which was exactly the scene where he violently tortured Kingpin last night, and then asked seriously, as if he was talking about a trivial matter. I don't know, but now I know, I think he did a good job. S.H.I.E.L.D. nodded and boasted shamelessly. Strawberry. Okay, let's not talk about this issue. Coulson looked at S.H.I.E.L.D.'s expression and didn't care about S.H.I.E.L.D.'s denial. Instead, he smiled. S.H.I.E.L.D., who claims to be a Chinese stowaway without a U.S. green card or nationality, appeared in Chinatown 1 year and 2 months ago and lived there for 1 year and 23 days. However, after investigation, there is no such thing as your name in the Chinese household registration. Name. To be honest, you are like a person who appeared out of thin air. No matter how I trace it, there is no trace of you in any country. Do you have anything to explain about this? Coming. This is the biggest loophole in his journey into this world, a person who appears out of thin air. S.H.I.E.L.D. put down the burger in her hand and looked into Coulson's eyes. I don't think you will believe it. I come from the Earth in another time and space, which is very similar to this one. I don't know why I suddenly came here. Maybe I am from a parallel universe. An alien space. Another planet in the universe. Anyway, I can't explain it. But I'm sure. S.H.I.E.L.D. said solemnly. I am indeed an ordinary human being. There is no doubt about this. Don't think about cutting me into slices for study. He didn't feel that he could lie in front of trained agents without being exposed, so he simply told the truth, as long as the Scion bloodline and system were not exposed. 35XS. Don't worry, we won't. We are a government agency and will not do anything that violates the law. Coulson assured with a twitch in his mouth. Ordinary humans. According to the video, it is estimated that the power of your kick exceeds 1 ton. Is this also called an ordinary human being? If each meal is for more than 20 people, is it also called ordinary human beings? That's good. I like you, Agent Coulson, and we will become friends. S.H.I.E.L.D. nodded and continued eating his 23rd burger. We will meet again, Mr. S.H.I.E.L.D. Coulson took out a file bag from somewhere and placed it in front of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is our goodwill, a legal U.S. citizen status. I'm sorry I may be a little late, but I believe you won't be able to get another piece of identification at 4 p.m. When S.H.I.E.L.D. heard this, her eating movements suddenly froze, while Coulson showed a bright smile, stood up and left. S.H.I.E.L.D., who had thrown away $3 million, gritted her teeth and cursed. S.H.I.E.L.D., 14 years old, Chinese-American, orphan, her parents died in a car accident. He dropped out of school and worked on his own in Chinatown, New York. This is the identity prepared by S.H.I.E.L.D. for him. It will be easy to expose if there is new tracing, but there is no doubt that it is a legal identity. S.H.I.E.L.D. immediately used this identity to apply for a credit card and deposited the funds for his robbery of Gene Bin into it. He turned around and went to the stock exchange market, found an obedient stockbroker, and except for leaving $1 million as living expenses, he bought all the shares of Stark Industries. After Tony Stark disappeared, Stark Industries' stock price dropped by nearly 20%. S.H.I.E.L.D., an Iron Man fan in her ES life, knew that this was the time to buy the bottom for the first time. The injection of nearly $20 billion almost made Stark Industries stock rise. Then S.H.I.E.L.D., who no longer had the task system to set goals, started to stay at home. In addition to playing games online, I also exercise with a turtle shell on my back. After being at home for a full week, my combat power has exceeded 40 points, the turtle shell weight training effect is not effective anymore, and S.H.I.E.L.D seems to have disappeared. On a summer night with nothing to do, I began to feel a little confused. He used to be a vigilante just to rob gangsters, but now he has no shortage of money, only exchange points. But before all kinds of supernatural events emerge endlessly, the only one who is relatively active and often reported in the newspapers is a little spider. Where can I find an opponent with a combat power of more than 10 points? Are you going to have a fight with little spider? But the little spider's fighting power is definitely much stronger than him. That's just looking for abuse. S.H.I.E.L.D regrets that in her ES life, she only watched some popular Marvel movies. Many of the superheroes and villains in Marvel did not know the information at all. Oh, and Elektra and Daredevil. These two people should not be considered defeated by themselves, right? And speaking of which, maybe they will know where to find some people who can fight. Thinking of this, S.H.I.E.L.D immediately called lawyer Matt and asked him and Erica to have dinner, but he remembered that Daredevil still owed him a meal. So that night, S.H.I.E.L.D, Matt, and Erica showed up at an American fast food restaurant. Thank you very much for saving Erica. Kingpin has been sent to prison by me, but you really decided to let me treat you to a pizza. Don't worry, although I am a poor lawyer, I can still treat you to a meal. It's up. Matt said with a smile while wearing sunglasses. He has put aside his hatred and his girlfriend is still alive, which makes his spirit look very bright. I know an Italian restaurant. Trust me, the caviar there will make you want to go back. Erica, who was holding Matt on her arm, also suggested with a smile. No, I'm not just looking for you to eat. S.H.I.E.L.D waved her hand, with a strange smile on her face. And believe me, if you treat me to an Italian dinner, I'll eat you out of business. The moment, a waiter placed a stack of 20 pizzas on the table under Erica's shocked gaze. Chapter 12 Miss Polaris. S.H.I.E.L.D fights Daredevil and Elektra alone. After dinner, S.H.I.E.L.D extended an invitation to Daredevil and Erica for a discussion, and the three of them drove to an abandoned construction site. Strawberry. Daredevil's combat power is estimated to be about 15, and Erica's combat power is estimated to be 12. With S.H.I.E.L.D's 40 combat power, it seems that they can be easily dealt with. But because S.H.I.E.L.D had to control her strength so as not to seriously injure the two of them, she was really stuck with her skill alone. Just as he dodged Erica's sweeping kick, Daredevil's fist appeared strangely in front of him. The elbow strike he originally intended to strike could only be retracted to defend. This kind of similar scene has appeared many times. Erica and Daredevil cooperated very well, and all kinds of fighting skills were at their fingertips. Although S.H.I.E.L.D had Lang Fong Fong fist at her side, the straight attacks could not put enough pressure on the two of them. In just a dozen rounds, they saw the trick clearly and could only passively dodge and defend. S.H.I.E.L.D finally discovered her shortcomings. The Dragon Ball world does not pay much attention to fighting skills, but more to exploring one's own potential, but this world pays great attention to fighting skills. Black Widow and Captain America, for example, do not have any superpowers. Their superhuman fighting skills and extraordinary physical strength are enough to join the Avengers. Even powerful people like Thanos and Thor are equally strong. Daredevil and Erica are also representatives. Through their outstanding skills, they can deal with the huge gang forces in the night. 35XS. Although S.H.I.E.L.D's fighting skills are not weak, they are still far behind compared to these people. At this time, S.H.I.E.L.D's Scion Physique showed its advantages. Scion Physique not only represents unlimited potential, but also represents terrifying learning ability. Just like in the anime, Kame Sennin has been studying the turtle-style Qigong for 50 years, and Sun Wukong learned it at a glance. Vegeta was defeated when he first came to the Earth, and he immediately understood the method of controlling Qi. Sun Wukong quickly learned to destroy the City of Gods. The unmanageable ultimate self-consciousness, these are clear proofs. So it only took less than 3 minutes for S.H.I.E.L.D to go from being beaten continuously, to being pressed down and beaten, to being beaten back and forth. He absorbed the fighting skills of Daredevil and Elektra like a sponge, and continued to master them during the fight, becoming more and more excited as they fought. Compared to Summer Night, Daredevil and Elektra are quite horrified. Erica and S.H.I.E.L.D have been comrades in arms, and Daredevil and S.H.I.E.L.D. have had a brief confrontation. Their understanding of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a child with outstanding speed, reaction, and strength, but rough fighting skills, and even we also discussed whether we should train S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, law enforcement at night is risky. But now it seems that it is not necessary at all. In the short battle, S.H.I.E.L.D. gave them the feeling that their fighting instincts were engraved into their bones. In just a few minutes, they could see their own shadows in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s moves, and in a few more minutes, their own shadows could be seen. The shadow disappeared. This meant that S.H.I.E.L.D. had completely digested their fighting skills and turned them into his own. 35XS now, it was their turn to be pressed and beaten. What a terrible learning ability. But both of them are superheroes after all, and they also have their own arrogance in their hearts. What's more, they are 2 against 1, and it is impossible to admit defeat. They all started to attack in unison, and some cruel moves that they didn't want to use on their friends began to appear. They went all out with every move, trying to knock S.H.I.E.L.D. down quickly. However, this is of little use to S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s speed and strength are there, and her reaction speed has also improved a lot after the training just now. Their sudden outburst did cause some trouble for S.H.I.E.L.D., but in just a few rounds, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s fist was imprinted on Erica's face. Of course, S.H.I.E.L.D. still had sense and quickly withdrew her punch. Erica's nose was only slightly sore from being hit, but there was no blood. But S.H.I.E.L.D. caught it at a good time, just when Erica had not recovered her center of gravity after whipping her leg. As Erica was knocked to the ground by a punch, S.H.I.E.L.D. turned her hand and grabbed the opening of Daredevil's attack, grabbed Daredevil's shoulder and threw him out. It's broken, I forgot to control the strength. S.H.I.E.L.D. was shocked and quickly looked in the direction Daredevil flew out. Bang. Daredevil flew more than 10 meters away, hit his back on a cement pipe at the construction site, and fell to the ground with a muffled sound. Congratulations on getting 28 redemption points. The system prompt sounded. Matt. Natsui and Erica exclaimed. S.H.I.E.L.D. was faster and was the first to run over and help Daredevil up. Erica followed closely, looking at Daredevil worriedly. I'm fine. Matt waved his hand, breathed a sigh of relief, and praised. You are so awesome, your fighting talent is amazing. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. just threw him out, the impact on the hard cement still shook his internal organs, and he even couldn't breathe for a while. But fortunately, his physical strength was high enough and he was not seriously injured. But there was no doubt that he needed a few days off from his part-time night job. However, his expression changed the moment, and he struggled to stand upright and pointed his crutch at the cement pipe behind him. Come out. Damn it, I was so focused on fighting that I didn't notice that there was someone hiding nearby. Daredevil looked ugly. None of the 3 of them were wearing combat uniforms, so their identities would be exposed if someone saw them. Anyone. S.H.I.E.L.D. and Erica were also taken aback and stood up facing the cement pipe. Who is it? Could it be someone from S.H.I.E.L.D.? Or Hydra? S.H.I.E.L.D.'s vigilance was at its highest, ready to take action at any time. Don't hurt me. I'm just a wanderer. A pleasant female voice came from the cement pipe, followed by a rustling sound. A girl of 13 or 14 years old crawled out of the cement pipe and raised her hands high. The bright moonlight shone on the girl's body, and S.H.I.E.L.D. was stunned for a moment when she saw the girl's appearance clearly. Her green shoulder-length hair seemed to exude a faint brilliance. Although she was wearing a cheap jacket and faded jeans, it could not cover up her fair and jade-like skin without any flaws. At this time, the girl was like a frightened deer, instinctively crouched, trembling with fear, clearly frightened by the presence of 3 men fighting in an unmanned area. You, what's your name? S.H.I.E.L.D. couldn't help but ask. Lorna, Lorna Dane. The girl replied timidly, looking very lovable. This name sounds familiar. S.H.I.E.L.D. was stunned and recalled the Marvel characters she knew. A Marvel beauty who was popular all over the country in her ES life gradually overlapped with the girl in front of her. Miss Polaris. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s eyes widened in surprise. Chapter 13 Losing Control. What did you just say? Do you know her? Daredevil asked in a deep voice. The words, Miss Polaris, that Strawberry just said were spoken in Chinese by S.H.I.E.L.D., and no one present could understand them. No, no, no. Don't be so nervous, she's probably not a bad person. S.H.I.E.L.D. quickly explained, pressing Daredevil's crutch at the same time. Judging from Miss Polaris's current appearance, she probably hasn't joined any mutant organization yet, but I don't know if her mania is showing up now. Daredevil pondered for a moment and then asked, even if she is not a bad person, now that she sees us, what are you going to do about it? No. Don't kill me. Before S.H.I.E.L.D could answer, the girl's face changed drastically and she exclaimed. Then green light emitted from his hands, and a rusty steel bar under his feet floated as if alive, piercing Daredevil's head like a sharp arrow. The expressions of the three people changed. Erica immediately tried to push Daredevil down, but Daredevil threw his head up to avoid it. But the distance is too close, and Daredevil's head will be penetrated by the steel before the two complete the action. Fortunately, S.H.I.E.L.D had quick eyesight and quick hands, and immediately reached out and grabbed the steel bar. The force carried by the steel bars was huge, dragging S.H.I.E.L.D's body forward, but at least it was much slower and was successfully dodged by Daredevil. Dang dang. The steel bars lost their support and fell to the ground, bouncing twice on the cement floor and becoming motionless. Strawberry S.H.I.E.L.D's hand was a little painful from the grinding, so she couldn't help but shake it twice. Lorna looked like she was about to cry, a few more steel bars floated, and the cement pipes to her began to vibrate. S.H.I.E.L.D knew that it was the steel bars in the cement pipe responding to Hannah's control. The metal on S.H.I.E.L.D and the three of them was also about to move, as if it was about to fly out from their bodies. Erica was very excited after her boyfriend was almost killed. She took out a weapon from her waist and wanted to rush forward. The moment, a war seems inevitable. Stop it first. S.H.I.E.L.D stopped Erica, and then faced Lorna, speaking as softly as possible, don't get excited, we won't hurt you, trust me, we are all good people. S.H.I.E.L.D, she. I know, she is a mutant. But she is just defending herself. Erica still wanted to take action, but S.H.I.E.L.D's power was much greater than hers, and it was easy to control her. You take Matt and stay away first, and I'll handle it. S.H.I.E.L.D said to Erica solemnly. At this time, the metal controlled by Lorna had begun to shake, which meant that her ability was getting out of control. Erica glanced at S.H.I.E.L.D. Although S.H.I.E.L.D still looks like a child, he is now as mature as an adult. Strawberry. Okay, you handle it. She didn't know S.H.I.E.L.D's plan, but she still chose to believe S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, S.H.I.E.L.D helped her once. S.H.I.E.L.D didn't respond to Erica. She raised her hands and walked slowly towards Lorna. Calm down, Lorna, I just want to help you. No, stay away from me, I don't want to hurt you. Lorna's hands seemed to be grasping something, shaking her head and shouting with fear on her face. Don't worry about me, I can protect myself. Lorna, control it, you can do it. S.H.I.E.L.D stopped, her tone a little anxious. His mobile phone, key card, coins, everything that could be magnetized left his body and surrounded Lorna. The cement pipe to it had also cracked, and the steel bars inside easily lifted up from the cement. S.H.I.E.L.D felt that Polaris was not far from losing control. He is not very worried about himself. After all, his body cannot even be penetrated by bullets, and his reaction speed is fast enough. He is still very confident that he can survive the explosion of the immature Miss Polaris. What he has to do is take this opportunity to show his kindness and strength, and take advantage of Miss Polaris before she encounters S.H.I.E.L.D. Now that we have come to the Marvel world, Shockwave Girl, Miss Polaris, Wanda, there are so many beauties, at least one must be accepted, right? After finally meeting one, S.H.I.E.L.D naturally couldn't let him go. Although she is still young now, she can be raised as a child bride. As time goes by, love will naturally grow over time. It can only be said that S.H.I.E.L.D is now working hard to end the tragedy of being single for 2 lifetimes. He really likes Miss Polaris, and she is his favorite among all the female Marvel characters. A stream of green air seemed to spurt out from Lorna's body, and then all the controlled objects shot out in all directions like bullets. S.H.I.E.L.D's expression changed. Out of control. He often reads newspapers, so he naturally knows that mutants exist in this world, but this is the first time he has encountered mutants losing control of their abilities. S.H.I.E.L.D, who was deep in the vortex, felt deeply, if a mutant's destructive power is 10 under normal circumstances, then when he loses control, the destructive power will be at least 100. Not only are the steel bars and metal products flying towards them, it seems that the metal in the entire construction site is ready to move. Underestimating the power of Polaris' explosive power. The metal objects flying towards S.H.I.E.L.D were very dense, and he could only be forced to retreat and dodge. He dodged a steel bar sideways, kicked a metal pipe away, and was hit in the shoulder by another steel bar. The steel bar that could easily penetrate the human body only caused S.H.I.E.L.D's body to tilt, but the force was stronger than the bullet. He felt that half of his body became sore and numb, and he lost control. But what was even more fatal was that this blow deformed S.H.I.E.L.D's movements. He could only quickly adjust his movements, and was hit a second time 2 seconds later. This time he was hit in the thigh, with more force than the S.H.I.E.L.D blow. He even felt that his thigh bone was broken. Fortunately, after this round of attacks, the frequency of attacks was greatly reduced, and S.H.I.E.L.D was barely able to dodge while dragging her injured body. Why do people criticize girls who have traveled through time and society, and why do I have to risk my life if I want to chase a girl? A few seconds later, although Polaris power explosion continued, all the metal around her was ejected. S.H.I.E.L.D, who was almost hit by a screw, wiped her hands with cold sweat and was finally out of danger. Looking at the North Star floating in the air not far away with his eyes rolled and his whole body trembling, with green energy constantly overflowing, S.H.I.E.L.D felt happy in his heart. At this moment, there is no obstacle between the two of them. He immediately took 2 steps forward, pulled Miss Polaris out of the air, and hugged him shamelessly. It's okay, you are safe. Oops, although Miss Polaris is still a little girl now, she already has a pretty good figure. And it's soft, cool, and really comfortable to hold. While S.H.I.E.L.D pretended to be a caring big brother, holding Miss Polaris and comforting her in her ears, her mind was filled with obscene thoughts. Chapter 14 Join. You, let go. Lorna's angry voice sounded in S.H.I.E.L.D's ears. After regaining consciousness, S.H.I.E.L.D looked around and saw that the rioting metal had returned to calm. I don't know if his comfort had an effect, or if Hannah's ability to lose control and run away automatically calmed down. Ahem, are you okay? As long as you're okay, as long as you're okay. S.H.I.E.L.D let go of her hand and took a step back, scratching her head in embarrassment. What should you say if you are caught red-handed taking advantage of someone? Urgent, waiting online. Lorna still stared at him with an annoyed look. She has never had such close contact with the opposite sex in her entire life. Although she was surprised that S.H.I.E.L.D could be so close to her and remain unharmed despite her ability to lose control, it did not enter from feeling like she was being taken advantage of. No matter what, they were trying to save her, and she couldn't say anything. She could only express her dissatisfaction with her eyes. If she knew the obscene thoughts running in S.H.I.E.L.D's mind, she would definitely control the metal and stab S.H.I.E.L.D to the core. Erica, who was hiding behind a pile of cement bags not far away, also helped Matt come over. Both of them looked a little ugly. The scene where Lorna lost control of her ability just now was very scary and affected the entire construction site. The pile of cement bags they were hiding in was also attacked. Several meters of steel bars are inserted into more than half of the cement bag. You can imagine how much kinetic energy these steel bars have. After being attacked twice in succession, Matt were wary of Lorna. 35XS just saw S.H.I.E.L.D and the other party standing very close to each other without any appearance of conflict. He didn't say anything for the time being, but just showed a puzzled expression towards S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh, Matt, Erica, just now, Lorna just thought you were going to silence her and lost control of her emotional agitation. This should be due to her fierce appearance, not her fault. S.H.I.E.L.D finally found a savior, took Matt's arm and explained slightly eagerly. Erica was stunned for a moment when she saw this, and turned to look at Lorna, whose face was red. She seemed to have understood something, and then she made up her mind and smiled. Matt was labeled as someone who took the initiative to cause trouble, but he reacted quite strongly when he heard this. He seemed to be wary of Lorna of unknown origin. No, this woman we. As soon as he opened his mouth, he was grabbed by Erica to him. Why do you care so much about children's affairs? S.H.I.E.L.D is much stronger than me, you have to believe that he can handle it well. Erica advised Matt in a low voice. But. It's nothing, let's go back to the car and wait. Erica directly blocked Matt's words, pulled Matt away and walked away. On the way, they whispered something to Matt. Matt looked back and seemed to understand something and nodded. S.H.I.E.L.D, who had been watching the show for a long time, felt embarrassed again. Why did she leave? Just go, take me with you. What should I do in this embarrassing situation? no experience. He could only bite the bullet and said to Lorna, you live here. While talking, S.H.I.E.L.D pointed to the cement pipe that had turned into broken cement blocks. A few newspapers and a travel bag could be seen through the cracks in the cement blocks. Yes. Lorna glanced sadly at the place where she had just been, and nodded. It looks like I have to find another place to sleep tonight. Then, how about you stay at my place? My place is quite big. S.H.I.E.L.D couldn't help but suggest. Ah. Lorna raised her head after hearing this and looked at him with vigilant eyes. No, don't get me wrong, I just think you have no place to live. Well, we are not bad guys, the one wearing sunglasses at night just now is the legendary Daredevil, and I am with them. S.H.I.E.L.D panicked when she saw this look and quickly explained. S.H.I.E.L.D, who had never held a girl's hand in 2 lifetimes, was at a loss when facing the idol she longed for, and even directly chose to betray Matt's identity. My friend, it is for sale at times like this. Lorna looked at S.H.I.E.L.D's fussy look, and thought of the figure who desperately tried to save him when her abilities were out of control. She felt that this boy as big as herself was silly and cute, and she couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth. However, this insignificant smile immediately fell silent. How long has it been since you laughed? Maybe this boy is different from others. Lorna's thoughts were in confusion, and she nodded, okay. It's okay. It doesn't matter if you refuse. Wait, you just agreed. S.H.I.E.L.D reacted and her eyes widened in surprise. Lorna rolled her eyes at him. I will do housework for you to pay for your accommodation, and I won't cause you any trouble. No problem. On behalf of my family, I welcome you to join. I will make you feel at home. S.H.I.E.L.D perked up and promised, patting her chest. I actually succeeded in bringing Miss Polaris home. Am I dreaming? S.H.I.E.L.D ignored the pain on her body and took 2 steps forward to take out Lorna's travel bag from the cement block. She felt very comfortable carrying it on her back and showed an attentive smile to Lorna. Let's go back. Lorna, who was treated with such an attitude for the first time, was also flustered, but she immediately calmed down, breathed a sigh of relief, and nodded, yeah, okay. The shadows of the 2 people were stretched by the moonlight, and gradually disappeared into this deserted construction site. On the other side, Alkali Dam, a secret base. General, target at 03 disappeared in New York 10 minutes ago. The last video signal showed that her abilities were out of control, destroying all nearby surveillance equipment. Are there any clues left? We have locked the location where the signal disappeared. However, according to the last image transmitted by the surveillance equipment, there are 3 people at the scene besides the target. One of them is a suspected mutant, and his ability seems to be physical enhancement, at least level 3. Well, find the traces of @03 as soon as possible, and mark and monitor the new mutants. Yes. A soldier performed a military salute and left. In front of him was a slightly bloated middle-aged man wearing a straight general uniform. If S.H.I.E.L.D were here, she would definitely try to kill him, because he is General Stryker among the X-Men who has no superpowers but has caused a lot of trouble for mutants. He stared intently at the tempered glass in front of him. Behind the glass was a bloody human experiment. The body of a mutant who had been injected with the xenogenic gene was undergoing horrific changes, and his flesh and blood continued to explode and recover. The experimental subject was restrained on the operating table and struggled desperately, with a ferocious face as if he was roaring in pain, but the space where Stryker was only a few meters away could not hear it at all. Instead, soothing piano music was playing. It's almost successful. His eyes flashed and he muttered to himself, Chapter 15 Meet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Again. Under Erica's narrow gaze, S.H.I.E.L.D, who was inexplicably shy, took Lorna into Matt's car. Luckily Matt had his eyes covered, otherwise the shyness would have been doubled. Congratulations on finding true love. Now you owe me a favor. Matt said this. Well, even with his eyes covered, he still gave S.H.I.E.L.D a fatal blow. S.H.I.E.L.D felt that her face was so hot that she could fry an egg. Don't be shy, Easterners are not suitable for chasing girls because of their reserve. Erica teased. Stop talking nonsense, drive quickly, I'm sleepy. S.H.I.E.L.D quickly stopped these 2 unscrupulous people. I am still a child. Are all Americans so open-minded? However, Lorna was not moved at all. After getting in the car, she sat quietly and looked out the window, not knowing what she was thinking. If anyone could see her face, they would see a hint of panic in her eyes. Why did I just agree? What if that guy is a bad guy? The three people left here with their own thoughts. The day, S.H.I.E.L.D, who was preparing to sleep in, was awakened by an explosion. After being stunned for a moment, S.H.I.E.L.D suddenly remembered that Lorna was at his house last night. Is there some organization coming to capture Lorna? He jumped up from the bed and ran out of the room without even putting on his clothes. Then he saw Lorna using her ability to control a lot of metal kitchen utensils to block in front of him. Kitchen knives, pans, stainless steel basins, grills. They were all covered with debris from the microwave explosion. Fortunately, Lorna was safe. No problem. There are several plates placed on the dining table in Strawberry's living room. Inside are unknown objects of various shapes such as discs, blocks, and strips, all of which are uniformly dark in color. It turns out that my Miss Polaris is also a kitchen killer. S.H.I.E.L.D cast a shocked look at Lorna. Dang rang rang rang. There was a sound of metal falling to the ground. Lorna loosened the control of her ability and turned her head to pretend to be disapproving. I'm hungry. I want to make something to eat. Your microwave oven is broken and it exploded out of nowhere. I will definitely compensate you. S.H.I.E.L.D glanced at the remains of the microwave oven and could see a few milk cartons and canned coffee remains. Microwave coffee and milk. This girl must have never been in the kitchen. Haha, you're fine. The microwave is broken to begin with. You don't have to pay for it. You can just buy another one later. S.H.I.E.L.D chuckled silly and scratched his head, looking very happy. Is Miss Polaris trying to make breakfast for herself? Thinking of this possibility, S.H.I.E.L.D felt inexplicably relaxed physically and mentally. Lorna seemed to be relieved and turned her face again. When she saw S.H.I.E.L.D.'s appearance, she immediately turned back with a hint of blush on her face. I'm going to take a bath. Seeing Lorna running into the bathroom as if she was running away, S.H.I.E.L.D was stunned for a moment, then realized what she was doing and looked down at his body, which was only wearing a pair of boxer briefs. Strawberry. I go. You won't be regarded as a gangster, right? Lorna, I didn't mean it. I was just anxious when I heard the explosion. Just wait, I'll put on my clothes first. S.H.I.E.L.D ran back to the bedroom to get dressed in a panic. Half an hour later, the two sat face to face at the dining table, awkward and speechless. What was embarrassing was not only the explosion of the microwave oven and the loss of the summer night, but also the several plates of indescribable food on the table. Just now, S.H.I.E.L.D wanted to imitate the male protagonists in animations and TV series in her S.H.I.E.L.D life, eating all these things without conscience, pretending to be delicious, and then complimenting them on how delicious they were after eating. But reality is always much crueler than fiction. S.H.I.E.L.D only took one bite and couldn't help but spit it out. What did you just eat? Charcoal with black pepper, butter, and sugar. It's not food that humans can eat at all, okay? S.H.I.E.L.D pretended to have a strong taste of garlic, but Lorna was wise enough not to try her masterpiece. The two of them stared at each other, both at a loss for a moment. Well, shall I do it again? S.H.I.E.L.D suggested. As a purebred Chinese, the skill of cooking is engraved in the bones just like farming. Lorna was stunned for a moment when she heard this, then turned to look at the kitchen. S.H.I.E.L.D followed Lorna's gaze and twitched the corner of her mouth. The kitchen is now in a mess, and almost all kinds of kitchen utensils have been wiped out. We can only order takeout. S.H.I.E.L.D spread her hands pretending to be relaxed, picked up the phone on the side and ordered 2 pizzas, and then continued to sit awkwardly face to face with Lorna. 5 minutes later, the doorbell rang, finally saving S.H.I.E.L.D from this weird atmosphere. Just 5 minutes felt longer than a century. He jumped up from the chair as if there were springs under his buttocks, shouted, "I'll open the door," and hurriedly ran away from the dining table. But when he rushed to the door and opened it with full gratitude, his face suddenly fell. "Hello, S.H.I.E.L.D. Won't you invite me in?" The middle-aged man with a kind smile on his face said gently at the door. "Coulson, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Why did this guy come here again? Is it for Lorna?" But S.H.I.E.L.D doesn't seem to care about mutants at all. There are powerful mutants all over the world, it's like you haven't seen them before. "No need, Mr. Agent, you can just say it here if you have anything to do." S.H.I.E.L.D said with a twitch in his mouth, but he kept complaining in his heart. I am so stupid that I lack S.H.I.E.L.D, I was penetrated by Hydra, and I am so sexy that I don't want to trick anyone. No problem. Coulson nodded and stretched out a hand towards S.H.I.E.L.D. Let me introduce myself again, Phil Coulson, agent of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. S.H.I.E.L.D stretched out her hand and shook it perfunctorily as a handshake. Aren't you the FBI? Why haven't I heard of this department? Homeland Defense Bureau. The name is too long. You're not the first to say that. Besides. Coulson shrugged, took out a tablet, lowered his head and pressed a few keys, then turned it over to show S.H.I.E.L.D. Can you explain this video? On the screen was a video, which was exactly what happened last night when S.H.I.E.L.D faced Lorna's loss of control. From the time S.H.I.E.L.D, Matt, and Erica arrived at the abandoned construction site to start fighting, to the time they left with Lorna, everything was clear. Judging from the angle of the video, it should have been shot with some kind of black-tech camera device from a very far-away place. What does S.H.I.E.L.D want to do? Recruit yourself into S.H.I.E.L.D. Or join the Avengers of the future? S.H.I.E.L.D's mind was spinning, but her face remained calm. Okay, this is me. Lorna's ability is out of control. I just want to control her, and I'm not committing a crime, right? I'm not a mutant, I'm just an ordinary person. Don't you guys, do you want to capture me and slice it for study? Or do you want to capture Lorna? As he said that, S.H.I.E.L.D's expression turned gloomy and she stared at Coulson closely, as if she was going to take action moment. I advise you to calm down, Mr. S.H.I.E.L.D. Coulson's expression remained unchanged. Within 2 kilometers, there is a whole team of special service personnel watching here. We are here with good intentions, please believe us. I don't like agents anymore. S.H.I.E.L.D said with a frown. Mr. S.H.I.E.L.D, you may have misunderstood our department. Our department is not affiliated with the U.S. government. It is directly responsible to the World Security Council and responds to crises that affect the world and all mankind. Coulson put away his tablet, explained with a smile. What's curious is that your genes are indeed no different from ordinary people. How did your abilities come from? Chapter 16, The Avengers Project. You just spy on me, but you still steal my genes. S.H.I.E.L.D's face turned darker. Strawberry is not worried about S.H.I.E.L.D finding out there is something wrong with his genes, because the biggest difference between scions and humans is S-cells, a necessary condition for transforming into a super scion, and it has little to do with genes. But if S-cells are really collected and some kind of monster is created using this world's genetic technology, it might cause big trouble. This is just a necessary investigation, Mr. S.H.I.E.L.D. We will not do the same thing to you again in the future. Coulson still smiled gently. Can you answer my question first? I don't have any abilities. I am a cultivator from another world. S.H.I.E.L.D was silent for a moment and replied. Through special methods to train the body and master qi, an energy similar to Chinese internal strength. Of course, I am still in the stage of training the body and have not mastered it to that extent. S.H.I.E.L.D had no intention of hiding the secret of her own training from S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, without S-cells, human physiques would never surpass those of scions no matter how much they practiced. Maybe you can also use the cultivation method to gain some benefits. The Quinjet is pretty good, it can be used as a private jet, it's very classy. Special method. Can everyone use it? Coulson's expression changed a little. You also know that my genes are no different from ordinary humans, right? Since I can do it, then everyone should be able to do it. Strawberry, S.H.I.E.L.D replied with a nod. His answer is actually problematic. Natsuyi has not yet mastered the training method like Kame Senryu, but only relies on the scion's abnormal physique to forcibly train and improve. However, you only need 500 exchange points to exchange for the Turtle Immortal style, so S.H.I.E.L.D is not worried at all that he won't be able to get it when the time comes. When Dr. Lizard appears, a large number of ordinary people will transform into lizardmen, and they will definitely be able to harvest a wave of exchange points. I think I need to report your situation. Coulson said solemnly. So the routine questioning is over. S.H.I.E.L.D raised her eyebrows and asked. No, the purpose of my coming is not to ask. Coulson's face once again filled with a gentle smile. In fact, we plan to set up an organization that brings together some extraordinary power holders to fight against possible enemies on the Earth, such as alien invasions. You are a member of our recruitment plan. Me. S.H.I.E.L.D. was stunned. Isn't Iron Man the first superhero recruited by the Avengers? How could it be me? But he figured it out right away. The only superheroes who have abilities beyond the limits of human beings are myself, Spider-Man, and maybe the Hulk, but I don't know where he is hiding now. Little Spider is still underage, so the only one who can be included is himself, right? Maybe, Little Spider is also on the inspection list. There are certainly many benefits to joining, but S.H.I.E.L.D. is basically made up of Hydra, and there will be a civil war to divide them in a while. Then we will have to fight father-level villains like Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet together. Thinking of this, S.H.I.E.L.D. nodded solemnly. I am willing to join. Strawberry. If you want to redeem points to join the Avengers, it is definitely the best choice. By then, the Chitauri Army, Ultron's Iron Legion, Dark Elves, Death Army. S.H.I.E.L.D. feels that after finishing these plots, he will be able to live a good life. More importantly, it seems very exciting. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s blood boils when she thinks of those powerful enemies and teammates. Wish us a happy cooperation. Wish us a happy cooperation. S.H.I.E.L.D. shook hands with Coulson again, which also marked the future of the Avengers' most powerful superhero joining the battlefield. Another week passed in the blink of an eye, and in the newspaper, the little spider had changed out of the cheap-looking blouse and mask and put on a handsome red tights. Summer Knights have also been making a lot of money in Hell's Kitchen recently. Daredevil still fought with the Kingpin and sent him to prison. Hell's Kitchen is very busy now, it's the peak season. S.H.I.E.L.D., who spent all his money to buy Stark stock, naturally would not miss this opportunity, and the body-searching maniac returned to the world again. It is worth mentioning that in order to end people from spreading strange titles like Uzumaki-men again, S.H.I.E.L.D. always leaves a card with the word Akatsuki written on it after committing a crime. Well, after executing justice, finally started, some people call him Yi-Xiaoxia. What surprised S.H.I.E.L.D. was that there were many gang members with combat prowess exceeding 10 points, and there were even some mutants. After a few days, S.H.I.E.L.D. accumulated some exchange points and exchanged them for a set of heaven's weight-bearing clothes, which weighed 200 kilograms, equivalent to carrying 2 adults on their backs. He now wears this thing all the time except sleeping. After a few days, the effect is gratifying, and his combat power has soared, reaching 70 points now. But wearing weights, his combat effectiveness is only in the early 20s. I said, Lorna, how about we not learn how to cook? That night, S.H.I.E.L.D., who decided to take a day off, said while watching TV with a sad expression on her face. Lorna is in the kitchen, busy with today's dinner. During this time, Lorna also began to adapt to living together with S.H.I.E.L.D., and she basically didn't need S.H.I.E.L.D. to worry about housework, except for cooking. After learning the identity of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Yi-Xiaoxia, he also helped collect intelligence, which greatly improved S.H.I.E.L.D.'s business level. He was like a superhero assistant with extraordinary abilities, except cooking. S.H.I.E.L.D. also prepared a pile of iron sand for him to practice her abilities. Recently, her combat effectiveness has been greatly improved, and her progress has been obvious, except for cooking. Like a curse, no matter how much S.H.I.E.L.D. taught her or how many cooking tutorials she watched, she could never make anything edible. Calling it dark cuisine is a compliment. After a week, S.H.I.E.L.D. feels that her poison resistance must have increased significantly. Fortunately, S.H.I.E.L.D. has a strong stomach like a scion, and the poison resistance talent of Chinese people who have adapted to gutter oil since childhood. An ordinary person might have died long ago. Have you ever seen blue egg fried rice? Have you ever seen purple spicy and sour potato shreds? Have you ever seen mushy fried meat with fungus? S.H.I.E.L.D. can pat her chest and say, I have not only seen it, but also eaten it. I will definitely learn to cook Chinese cuisine. Lorna put the last dish on the dining table and pouted. S.H.I.E.L.D. glanced at the dining table. There is a new trick today. What is that unknown green object that is constantly squirming? It seemed like cauliflower was there a few minutes ago. This can almost be included in the category of black technology. I want to eat takeout today, okay? S.H.I.E.L.D. suggested with a grimace. No, okay. Lorna objected righteously. S.H.I.E.L.D. opened her mouth, but she still couldn't bear to refuse Lorna's delicate face. However, just as he was about to stand up, he was attracted by the evening news on TV. Now a message is inserted. Our station has just received news that a mysterious monster has appeared on the Williamsburg Bridge. Spider-Man is fighting the monster. Chapter 17 Little Spiders Talk. Nima, is this too exaggerated? So Little Spider is an extraordinary superhero. S.H.I.E.L.D, who saw the news and hurriedly put on his suit and rushed to the scene, swallowed his saliva when he looked at the vehicle that was destroyed and smashed by Spider-Man and Dr. Lizard like it was made of paper. Based on the movies she watched in her S.H.I.E.L.D. life and some information she accidentally learned, S.H.I.E.L.D divided the power levels into 8 levels from strong to weak: omnipotent universe level, multiverse level, single universe level, heavenly father level, planet level, and extraordinary level, transcendent level and mortal level. The mortal level is a powerful ordinary human being with a combat power of less than 20. Characters such as Daredevil, Elektra, and Bullseye all belong to this level. They are proficient in various firearms and fighting skills, and their strength and speed are the top levels that humans can achieve. Kingpin is at the pinnacle of this level. Breaking an adult's neck with just his grip strength is already very unbelievable to ordinary people, but it does not go beyond the limitations of ordinary humans. The transcendent level, as the name suggests, transcends human limits and has a combat effectiveness of 20 to 100. Captain America, Black Widow, Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, and most mutants above level are representatives of this level. S.H.I.E.L.D, who is above the extraordinary level, has no idea because he is too weak, but he knows that with his current strength, he is absolutely nothing compared to the two monsters fighting in front of him. Even though she has made rapid progress recently, S.H.I.E.L.D's strength is still dangling at the transcendent level. With his strength, he can still barely lift a car, but treating the vehicle as a toy like Spider-Man and Dr. Lizard is still far behind. I originally thought that I was very strong now, but I didn't expect that it was nothing at all. The strength of the little spider is definitely above the transcendent level, but I don't know the specific combat power. Maybe it is similar to Tony Stark in the steel suit. At this time, S.H.I.E.L.D was standing on the cable tower of the bridge, facing the evening breeze, resisting the idea of going down immediately to fight these two monsters, thinking as rationally as possible about whether to get involved now. However, he overestimated his own reason, and his reason kept giving him reasons. If he continued to fight, civilians would be injured. Only constant fighting was the shortcut for science to become stronger, and the little spider would definitely not die. I can't help it. S.H.I.E.L.D jumped directly from the 20-meter-high cable tower. The whistling wind rang in her ears. The objects on both sides quickly retreated, and the vehicles on the bridge got closer and closer. Bang! Just as he was thinking about how to land the handsome S.H.I.E.L.D, he suddenly felt a strong impact on his left side. Because he was wearing a mask and could only see with one eye, he couldn't react at all. The moment, I felt as if my waist and abdomen had hit a high-speed car, and it instantly turned into a sideways movement. The whole person was carried by the impact object and flew at least 20 meters away, until I hit him with a thud. The bottom of a car knocked over the car that was originally on its side. 35xs. Fuck. The severe pain made S.H.I.E.L.D couldn't help but curse in Chinese, and it felt like half of the bones in her body had moved out of place. After finally reacting, he turned around and realized that the one who hit him was actually the little spider. Compared to himself, little spider turned over and stood up as if the person who had just been knocked 30 or 40 meters away was not him. Seeing S.H.I.E.L.D who was serving as a meat mat for him, he was stunned for a moment and shouted in surprise, "Wow, Yi Xiaoxia. Are you here to stop that monster too? You are my idol, you don't even know I admire you so much. My room is covered with your reports and portraits. Are you really a one-eyed Chinese? Is it true that the newspaper said that your other eye was blinded when you were learning martial arts? Can't you teach me Chinese Kung Fu? I'm very good, I can definitely learn it." S.H.I.E.L.D finally regained her breath and was thankful that she was only shaken and didn't suffer any injuries. I was very happy when I heard Little Spider say that he admired me very much, but then I realized that Little Spider is indeed a little spider, and it would be a pity not to talk about cross-talk. His words were fast and noisy, and in just half a minute, veins appeared on S.H.I.E.L.D's forehead. This mouth has definitely been used to its best, it's so talkative. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly noticed that the light in front of him dimmed. He looked up and saw half of the car blocking the light and flying towards him and the little spider. The green Dr. Lizard in the distance still kept throwing. Little S.H.I.E.L.D was about to say a reminder, but then he was surprised to find that the little spider had disappeared from in front of him. Damn it, the spider sense is so powerful, can't you remind me? S.H.I.E.L.D quickly rolled towards a lazy donkey on the side, and then kicked on the ground, moving more than 2 meters away into the distance. The half-car was like a stone thrown by an ancient catapult, easily smashing the overturned car into a pile of scrap metal, and then there was an explosion and a ball of flame engulfed them all. S.H.I.E.L.D was lying on the ground with his head up at this time, and a piece of iron sheet from an unknown part of the car flew past his face. If he had been slower to dodge, he might have died now. After being stunned for a few seconds, he looked up again. Little Spider was already fighting Dr. Lizard again. Using spider silk to stick to surrounding vehicles and move quickly, the little spider avoids Dr. Lizard's attacks and at the same time uses spider silk to harass Dr. Lizard's movements from time to time. One was a strength player and the other was an agility player. The battle between the two made S.H.I.E.L.D's blood boil with excitement. He immediately forgot about the danger of his life just now. A carp stood up and rushed towards Dr. Lizard. At first glance, S.H.I.E.L.D was with Little Spider, and the moment she joined the battlefield, she was included in Dr. Lizard's attack range. At this moment, S.H.I.E.L.D knew what kind of opponent he was facing from Little Spider. While watching, this big green guy looked quite stupid, as if he was being played by the Little Spider. But that's based on the premise that the Little Spider is fast enough and has a spider sense. In fact, this monster is far more agile and smarter than imagined. Even if he loses his mind, the doctor is still a doctor after all, and his IQ is still online. S.H.I.E.L.D's speed was not much faster than Dr. Lizard's. He could only passively dodge attacks, and even rarely had the opportunity to actively attack. This was still the case when Little Spider was the main attacker and he was only supporting from one side. It's not that he hadn't thought about confronting this big guy head-on, but when he saw a fist as big as a casserole falling on the ground, rocks and dust flying, and a big hole smashed into it, he had no choice but to give up this tempting idea. It has to be said that speed is indeed Dr. Lizard's shortcoming, and S.H.I.E.L.D also took advantage of this to gain a firm foothold in the battle. It's a bit annoying to have to endure the little spider's mouth while fighting. However, the battle situation is never static. Chapter 18 Extraordinary Power. Wow, Idol, your moves are so cool. Is this Chinese Kung Fu? Hey big guy, you're moving too slow. No, stop, I like that car very much, okay, maybe not that much. The little spider couldn't stop talking, and the trash talk in his mouth was simply more offensive than his fists. Not only was the big lizard annoyed, but S.H.I.E.L.D on the other side also wished he could find a piece of tape to seal the kid's mouth. Dr. Lizard was a scientific researcher, and Little Spider was just a high school student before he was bitten by the spider. Neither of them had any combat experience, so they were just noobs pecking each other. S.H.I.E.L.D's punches became easier and smoother, but the fist landed on Dr. Lizard's body without any pain or itching, and it just acted as a delayed attack. Fortunately, perhaps because of S.H.I.E.L.D's intervention, Dr. Lizard's movement range was restricted, but there were no civilian casualties due to the battle between the three. But the war situation will not remain so stalemate. Even though Dr. Lizard had little fighting experience, he discovered S.H.I.E.L.D's lack of strength but caused him a lot of trouble. Compared to the little spider that jumps around like a fly and is impossible to catch, this person who appears out of nowhere seems easier to deal with. Having figured this out, Dr. Lizard immediately took action and suddenly gave up his avoidance. He resisted the little spider's kick to his shoulder and slapped S.H.I.E.L.D on the head. 35x S.H.I.E.L.D, who was originally running with him, had been working diligently as Little Spider's assistant. He didn't expect that Dr. Lizard suddenly changed his target and slapped him with a green palm. The situation was urgent, so he immediately leaned back and made a classic iron bridge move. Dr. Lizard's huge palm rubbed his abdomen, and the strong wind almost blew S.H.I.E.L.D, whose center of gravity was unstable, over. S.H.I.E.L.D broke into a cold sweat. If I get hit this time, I'm afraid half my life will be lost. However, the crisis has not been resolved. Little Spider was a little anxious when he saw S.H.I.E.L.D being attacked, and punched Dr. Lizard in the face to attract the enemy's attention. Dr. Lizard seemed to have expected it. He was carrying the pain in his shoulder and struck decisively with his other hand, grabbing the little spider's fist. God, I actually prefer to be held by a girl. The little spider complained, and then like a broken sack, Dr. Lizard swung it up as a weapon and threw it towards S.H.I.E.L.D with his backhand. S.H.I.E.L.D wanted to hide, but Dr. Lizard had the little spider. Human meat hammer, which doubled the attack range. Although S.H.I.E.L.D tried her best to retreat, she was still hit by Dr. Lizard. Boom. This time it was much more powerful than when he jumped down from above. The huge force made S.H.I.E.L.D feel like he was hit by a train traveling at full speed, and he even heard the sound of bones on the left side breaking. Strawberry then felt his feet lift off the ground, and his body flew up in the direction of the force. Bang. He didn't know how far he flew before he crashed directly into the side of a sedan that was still on fire. The car was actually knocked sideways by S.H.I.E.L.D's body for more than a meter. One side of the car tilted up and then fell back to the ground with a thud. The summer night is like a sticker on the side of a vehicle, with the whole person embedded in it. Poof. S.H.I.E.L.D spat out a mouthful of blood, took a step forward with his hand, and was about to re-enter the battlefield. Suddenly, it seemed as if all the bones in his body were broken, and severe pain suddenly took control of his body. He stumbled forward and fell. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and supported his body with his hands, otherwise that handsome face would definitely have kissed the hard ground. He didn't think that the cheap mask on his face had the ability to offset the force of the impact for him. I almost lost my appearance, it was really dangerous. Is this extraordinary power? S.H.I.E.L.D held onto her injured body and managed to calm down her breathing. The attack just now educated him with facts and told him, "You are still far behind." He deeply understood that if he were to fight alone, he would not be able to defeat either Spider-Man or Dr. Lizard, and would be easily beaten to death. He was still thinking about charging forward again, but the situation of the battle changed again. Dr. Lizard, who was no longer restrained by S.H.I.E.L.D, let go a lot, and his movements suddenly accelerated. At this time, the little spider had escaped from Dr. Lizard's control. He used the spider's silk to get behind Dr. Lizard. He was standing on Dr. Lizard's back and chatting. Then he was grabbed again and thrown in the direction of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was used as a short-range weapon last time, and this time it was used as a long-range weapon. I don't know if there will be any psychological shadow. S.H.I.E.L.D would not think about using the little spider as a meat pad anymore. Anyway, with the little spider's physical strength, it would be difficult for such an attack to even cause serious injury. She might as well roll to the side. The little spider yelled and screamed from S.H.I.E.L.D's side. Flew over. When S.H.I.E.L.D looked at Dr. Lizard again, the guy had climbed over the guardrail of the bridge, and he didn't know whether he climbed into the water or climbed to the bottom of the bridge. The result is pretty good, at least no one died. After tonight, S.H.I.E.L.D's name will also appear in the newspaper, right? S.H.I.E.L.D raised his head and looked at the several helicopters circling overhead. He could vaguely see cameras set up on the helicopters, as well as the logos of various radio stations. He first self-examined his injuries. His left upper arm was fractured, 4 ribs were broken, various internal organs were damaged, and there were several external injuries. He was just an assistant, and he was injured at the last moment, and he was injured like this, even though with his current physique, it would take at least 2 days to recover. It seems that we must learn chi-related skills as soon as possible. No, there are still many people in this world who rely on technology, and they need to exchange for combat effectiveness testers. Time you see an enemy, you must first understand the enemy's strength. If you encounter such a guy who is much stronger than yourself again, it is better to stay low-key and hide. Go back and recuperate. S.H.I.E.L.D propped up his body and jumped up, rising and falling in the vehicle, and left the battlefield. He ran all the way to a deserted dark alley, and drove away a fool who tried to rob the superhero. After confirming that he was safe, he sat down on the ground, breathing heavily. It hurts so much to run so far with my injuries. Mr. S.H.I.E.L.D, do you know Daredevil? Someone must have told you that your names are very similar. As soon as he reached out to take off his mask and take off his suit, he heard a voice diagonally above him. S.H.I.E.L.D stiffened, but immediately relaxed, and just put down the hand that wanted to take off the mask. This voice was very familiar to him. It was the chatty little spider just now. I know him. S.H.I.E.L.D nodded. Wow, S.H.I.E.L.D is actually a child. How old are you? Where do you go to school? The little spider wearing a red and blue spider suit fell from the sky and landed in front of S.H.I.E.L.D. 15 years old, dropped out of school. Can you leave here? I'm injured. I need to take off my suit and go back to recuperate. S.H.I.E.L.D said calmly. Chapter 19 Little Spider becomes a disciple. Actually, I still have something to do. Little Spider scratched his head, seeming a little embarrassed. Just one thing, it won't take you much time. Oh, you can never imagine how long I have been dreaming about this thing. You know, I have been operating in Queens, and you are in Clinton District. We rarely can we meet each other. If you refuse, I will definitely be very sad. Okay, tell me quickly, I'm going to bleed to death. S.H.I.E.L.D interrupted the little spider with a dark face. In fact, although he had many wounds on his body, he would not bleed to death. His body shape is not much different from that of normal people of the same age, but he possesses strength that far exceeds that of ordinary people. This is because his muscles are hard enough, and the slightest exertion of force can greatly slow down the blood loss. It was just a little too painful to tighten the muscles around the wound. Oh. Can I become your disciple? Little Spider said quickly, and he also put on a posture and performed a few nondescript martial arts moves. Your moves are so cool, just like in Mr. Jackie Chan's movies, and they're amazing. I've never fought before becoming a superhero, and I think I need Chinese kung fu. S.H.I.E.L.D was shocked for a moment when he heard this, and then started to think about it, without even hearing what the little spider said. It's useless talk anyway, it doesn't matter whether you listen or not. Little Spider actually wants to become his master. It seems pretty cool to have a superhero as an apprentice. Remember that Spider-Man will have to make money by selling his photo album in the future, and he will be miserable. When Strawberry goes to Hell's Kitchen to conduct business at night, bringing Little Spider along with him can be regarded as helping the poor, right? I am such a righteous person. With such a super thug. Well, righteous partner, it is foreseeable that the daily performance will definitely more than double. When the time comes, as the master, I will definitely give 1/10 to Little Spider so that Little Spider can earn more. Well, this is possible. But there's a problem. Spider-Man is a pure vigilante. When he was running around in tight clothes in Queens, he caught few bad guys and even injured them. They were all controlled by Spider Silk and thrown to the police station. But this may not work in Queens. After all, they are all well-established gang organizations. They even have mutants and heavy firepower, and sometimes there are many inexplicable black technology weapons. If you don't have the determination to kill the enemy, your life will be in danger. S.H.I.E.L.D has gradually become accustomed to killing people. It is easier for those human scum and bastards who help others to die. God knows how many people have even lost their lives because of their broken families. But the little spider is too kind, so he probably won't kill him, and he might be in danger. Thinking of this, S.H.I.E.L.D interrupted Little Spider's quarrel and said solemnly, I am not a community service vigilante like you, I am a real enforcer of justice. 35xs What I am facing is not just a few robbers. You are not a criminal or a thief, but a gangster who takes human life seriously, and is the truly dark side of society. If you don't have the awareness to stain your hands with the blood of darkness, I will not accept you. Wow, I said it so well, so I'm so handsome. S.H.I.E.L.D was secretly proud, but the little spider in front of him was silent. S.H.I.E.L.D didn't know what Little Spider was thinking, but looking at the way he lowered his head and stared at the ground in deep thought, he must be struggling. Maybe he was deciding whether to give up his principle of not killing criminals and leaving judgment to the police. Maybe he couldn't understand how cruel New York was in the dark, but he was really thinking. After a while, Little Spider spoke again, maybe I can take a look first. Okay. Leave me your contact information and I will contact you in a few days to let you see the dark side of America. S.H.I.E.L.D thought for a moment and replied. I remember that yesterday Lorna also investigated a gang that was smuggling people into prostitution. Then she asked him to go and see those poor women and see if Little Spider would be as angry as she was when she saw a gang leader dissecting a female student. Okay. The little spider rarely said anything. He left his mobile phone number, stretched out his hand and shot a piece of spider silk towards the roof of the building and flew away. S.H.I.E.L.D watched the little spider leave her sight, pinched her waist, lowered her voice, and laughed a few times with pride. The famous Spider-Man actually wants to become his disciple, which is really not that exciting. However, this action pulled the wound and slightly deformed his smiling face. Fortunately, he was covered by a mask and no one was around to see it. Hurry back and bandage the wound. That girl Lorna was still blocking me when I came out. She felt that she couldn't defeat that kind of monster, but she repeatedly promised that she would never provoke Dr. Lizard just for a look. Not only was she injured this time, but the battle was probably broadcast live on TV, and she didn't know how Lorna would react. You must be worried about yourself, right? Maybe even have a little temper. Thinking about it, I still have a little expectation. With this thought in mind, S.H.I.E.L.D took off her battle clothes and hurried home all the way. But in fact, when he rushed home, the living room was empty, and Lorna's room door was closed, and she had obviously gone back to sleep. Sigh. Miss Polaris is really not that easy to catch up with. Her status in the other person's heart is not enough. I still thought that I could enjoy the service of Miss Polaris tonight, bandage my wounds and so on, and have some fun and develop feelings during the period, but in the end the charm was not enough. S.H.I.E.L.D was very disappointed, shook her head and planned to go back to her room to take a shower and treat her wounds by herself. However, when he turned on the light in his room, he found that the first aid kit was already on the bed, with bandages and potions laid out one by one, and a takeaway pizza on the desk. It turns out that Miss Polaris still cares about me. Is it really a tantrum? Or are you shy? S.H.I.E.L.D immediately regained hope. For a while, he even thought about what he and Lorna's child would be called, and happily went to take a bath and treat the wound. In the blink of an eye, the day arrived. Lorna was performing her duties as a housekeeper and superhero assistant as usual, and it seemed that there was no change from usual. S.H.I.E.L.D repeatedly wanted to ask Lorna what she thought of his behavior last night, but she couldn't open her mouth. In the end, I broke the jar and threw the matter aside. Because last night he saw Spider-Man and Dr. Lizard's combat prowess far surpassing his own, which made him wake up from his recent complacency. And as Spider-Man's future master, he can't be too weak, right? So he decided to train specially. At least until Lorna investigates the time and place of the human trafficking gang's transaction, she will increase her combat power to over 100 points. So he put everything behind him, and after breakfast, he got into the fitness room early, ready to start training. Chapter 20 Special Training. The purpose of S.H.I.E.L.D's special training is very clear: to initially master Chi. Even if you are not able to use your Chi to see things instead of your eyes, or to sense the intensity of other people's Chi, you must at least learn to control your own Chi. Only by learning to control one's own Chi can one be able to use techniques such as turtle-style Qigong, Dong-Dong Wave, or even Wukong technique. I remember that in Dragon Ball, not long after Sun Wukong debuted, he learned turtle-style Qigong when he first met Turtle Sennin. This proves that Sun Wukong had initially mastered Qi before this, but he just couldn't use it. Maybe it's because of his anger that he can physically block bullets. Qi cultivation requires learning the prerequisite skill of Turtle Senryu, but unfortunately, S.H.I.E.L.D does not have that many redemption points. He finally figured it out. This system was just for show, at least it was useless during this time period. But it doesn't matter, isn't it just Qi? Sun Wukong can learn it, but there is no reason why he can't learn it. However, when S.H.I.E.L.D was about to start training, she realized that she was too naive. The use of Qi at a higher level has appeared in Dragon Ball in S.H.I.E.L.D Lives. After Sun Wukong ascended the Kalen Tower for the first time, Cat Immortal's training was all about the use of deeper levels of Qi. And after Sun Wukong ascended to the temple above Kalen Tower, Bobo's training for him was even more in-depth. Regarding the problem of not having a sparring partner, S.H.I.E.L.D still had another way to find a solution. But S.H.I.E.L.D had no clue about the most basic Qi practice. Judging from the fact that Sun Wukong in Dragon Ball learned the turtle-style Qigong immediately after seeing Turtle Sennin use it once, he had already mastered the basics of Qi when he lived with his grandfather, Sun Wuhan. 35xs But S.H.I.E.L.D knows nothing about how Sun Wukong teaches and how far Sun Wukong has mastered it. Neither the animation nor the comics have ever talked about this. As a person who has read countless online novels in his S.H.I.E.L.D life, S.H.I.E.L.D's first thought was to meditate. Whether it is yoga, Buddhism, Taoism, or practicing internal skills in Chinese martial arts, sitting cross-legged and meditating is a basic posture. However, no matter whether I visualize a certain kind of air flow flowing in the body, completely empty my mind, or carefully sense the situation in the body, there is no response. Apart from holding in a loud fart, I didn't feel any Qi or energy, and a whole morning was wasted. Those who write novels are all liars. S.H.I.E.L.D curled her lips while eating lunch, feeling very dissatisfied. Lorna raised her head and glanced at him, said nothing, and continued to eat. S.H.I.E.L.D was sure that Lorna was angry. You must be worried because you saw me in danger last night, right? S.H.I.E.L.D was thinking wildly, and immediately put aside the difficulties of today's special training, and couldn't help but reveal a lewd smile. Why are you laughing? You feel so disgusting. Lorna glanced at S.H.I.E.L.D's expression with her peripheral vision, raised her head and asked with a strange look on her face. Lorna. S.H.I.E.L.D put down the burger in her hand, looked into Lorna's eyes affectionately, and said seriously. 35XS, don't worry, as a man, I will shoulder my responsibilities and will not put myself in danger to make you worry like I did last night. Haha, this speech is so cool. How about Miss Polaris, have you bowed down under my jeans? However, what I didn't expect was that S.H.I.E.L.D's self-described handsome statement only earned Lorna a blank stare. I'm worried that you can give me the inheritance rights, so that if you die, I won't be worried about not having a place to live and going hungry. Also, sorry, you are not my type. Nanny. I treat you as my girlfriend, but you treat me as a long-term meal ticket. She likes me is indeed one of the three major illusions in life. Sure enough, even if I am reborn through time travel, will my nature as a loser still not change? S.H.I.E.L.D suddenly lost her appetite and put down her 33rd big meat bun with a grimace. Holding back her bitter tears and extreme embarrassment and anger, she stood up and turned around, running into the fitness room and slamming the door behind her. Not going out anymore. Sigh. After traveling through time, any beautiful woman you meet will fall in love with the protagonist at first sight. If you do a little favor to the beautiful woman, the protagonist will not marry him. If you pick up a girl on the roadside, you will win your heart. It turns out that they are all those online novel writers. YY came out. S.H.I.E.L.D worked hard for a long time before she temporarily buried the psychological shadow caused by her disillusionment and returned to training. Maybe his method was wrong. In short, his attempt to learn to use chi through meditation in the morning failed. He had to try some breathing methods tomorrow. Now he plans to think of other methods. S.H.I.E.L.D decided to try high-intensity training. You should know that the Scions in Dragon Ball used this method before dealing with S.H.I.E.L.D. It might be effective. Since high-intensity training is required, a 200 kg weight-bearing suit is not enough. S.H.I.E.L.D is very coveted for the gravity room in the System Mall, but even the cheapest 10x gravity room costs 2,000 redemption points, so she can't afford it. S.H.I.E.L.D could only use benzene to spend money to make lead rings of various weights on her arms and legs according to her own size. Even the lightest set weighs 100 kilograms. The weight-bearing clothing plus the lead ring weighs 300 kilograms. Even though S.H.I.E.L.D's current strength is far beyond that of ordinary people, it still feels very strenuous. After just doing basic training such as kicking and punching for a while, I was exhausted and sweating profusely. In order to master chi, he exercised until it was almost time for dinner. Different from the usual ordinary fitness intensity exercises, this is the first time for S.H.I.E.L.D to do this kind of squeeze-type exercise. Although I was so tired that I could hardly stand up while lying on the ground, and the wounds on my body burst open and blood flowed all over the floor, the effect was still very gratifying. In just one afternoon, S.H.I.E.L.D's combat effectiveness increased by a full 11 points. If this speed could continue for a month, S.H.I.E.L.D felt that the little spider would definitely not be his opponent. It's just that the wound is too painful to burst, and it seems like he's dizzy due to excessive blood loss. S.H.I.E.L.D thinks it's better not to risk his life like this. However, the more serious problem is that his purpose is not to simply increase his combat effectiveness, but to master chi. But even though he practiced so hard, he didn't even feel the shadow of chi, which made S.H.I.E.L.D doubt himself a little. Is my talent really so poor that I can't even compare to Sun Wukong who just debuted? At that time, Sun Wukong's combat power was only 12 points, right? It doesn't make sense. S.H.I.E.L.D took a shower full of doubts, cleaned up the blood in the gym, rebandaged the wound, and had dinner with Lorna. His feelings and cultivation were both affected. He was in a bad mood. He reduced his appetite by half, finished his dinner without saying a word and went back to the gym. Let's continue researching tomorrow. S.H.I.E.L.D decided to relax a little, forcing herself to forget about training for the time being, and did a set of Langia Fong Fong in the gym, being gentler, it should not affect the wound anymore. When the last move came down, he crossed his legs and twisted his waist, and hit the air with all his strength with the Lang Fong Wind Fist move. A very familiar feeling, as if an electric current spread throughout the body and then concentrated on the fist. When he punched out, a violent wind blew out, shaking the sandbag not far from him twice. Wait, electricity. S.H.I.E.L.D touched her chin and felt that she had some direction. Chapter 21 The Superficial Control of Chi. I should have thought of it earlier. S.H.I.E.L.D was so excited that she was spinning in circles in the fitness room. Strawberry. Although magic also exists in Dragon Ball, the practice of Chi is the mainstream whether on Earth or on alien planets. Yamcha, who has just appeared, can fight Sun Wukong evenly with the Langya Fong Fong, so his level of Chi cultivation should be about the same as Sun Wukong. The feeling of electric current flowing in my body when I use Langya Wind Fist must be the legendary Chi. This also explains why a single move of Langya Wind Fist is so much stronger than the ordinary move. Thinking of this, S.H.I.E.L.D didn't intend to rest, and immediately took up her posture again, repeating the Wolf Fong Wind Fist over and over again, carefully understanding the flow of Chi in the body when punching. I repeated it about 20 times. Although I didn't do any intense exercise, I felt inexplicably exhausted. Although it wasn't serious, the muscles all over his body did feel weak as if their strength had been taken away. At the beginning, S.H.I.E.L.D guessed that there should be a Dantian Chi Si in the human body to store Chi, just like in martial arts novels. But when I punched more than a dozen times in a row, I felt like the energy seemed to appear out of thin air in every place in my body, without a certain starting point. After trying a few more times, S.H.I.E.L.D felt that her guess was wrong. 35xs. But S.H.I.E.L.D was heavily influenced by anime and online novels in her ES life, so she immediately had new ideas. Maybe Chi is present in every cell of the body. Just like the chakra in Naruto. With new speculation, S.H.I.E.L.D started experimenting again. This guess seems to be correct, but S.H.I.E.L.D cannot observe at the cellular level. She can only confirm that something similar to electric current is generated everywhere in the body when punching. S.H.I.E.L.D estimated that this might be because of his own realm or lack of control. Although there is no substantial progress, it at least proves that the direction is right. S.H.I.E.L.D can't solve the problem of realm or control for the time being. But Sun Wukong, who used turtle-style Qigong for the first time in Dragon Ball, probably wasn't that good, and his combat power was probably weaker than his own. So at my level, I should be able to use turtle-style Qigong. The key lies in how to control the concentration and separation of Qi from the body. The first problem to be solved is to mobilize the Qi in the body without using the Langya Fong Fong. Langya Fong Fong relies on fixed movements to control energy, just like using skills in the game. It seems to be controlled by the system and not autonomously. The first step that S.H.I.E.L.D did was to continue to use Langya Fong Fong over and over again, relying on rote memory to memorize the method of Qi. 35xs. This step is not difficult. After consciously remembering it, after using Langya Fong Fong 6 times, I felt that my whole body seemed to be filled with some kind of energy. He stopped decisively, closed his eyes and stood there, trying to mobilize this energy, and succeeded easily. It's amazing, as if every muscle is under perfect control, and there is a feeling of being freed from some kind of restraint. But unfortunately, with his current ability, he can only mobilize Qi to move within a small range. For example, he tried to concentrate Qi into the palm of his right hand and used skills such as Qi bombs. In the end, only the Qi in the half of his right forearm close to the palm was gathered obediently. And there was nothing similar to air bombs, but the palms of the hands seemed to become particularly hard. S.H.I.E.L.D thought of the armed hockey in One Piece, which was somewhat similar to this. Sure enough, is it because Sun Wukong can resist bullets because of his anger? The reason why Qigong bombs are not formed is that the concentrated Qi is not enough, or there are other ways to let the Qi leave the body. S.H.I.E.L.D felt that she needed to train her control over Qi. If she could concentrate all the Qi in her body to one point, her destructive power and defensive power would be greatly enhanced. But speaking of bullet resistance, S.H.I.E.L.D felt that the speed of mobilizing her energy was too slow, and she might be hit by a bullet before her energy could be concentrated. S.H.I.E.L.D had another guess: Sun Wukong can resist bullets because it has become instinctive to concentrate his energy to defend. Only in this way can the energy be mobilized to defend in time and quickly when faced with an attack. This guess is very possible. S.H.I.E.L.D decided to train her reflexes and turn this ability to mobilize Qi for defense into instinct. I can finally practice chi. S.H.I.E.L.D. breathed a sigh of relief and wished he could shout out. But after this relaxation, I finally felt physically tired. It seems that using Langya phone continuously consumes a lot of energy. S.H.I.E.L.D. decisively chose to rest and practice again tomorrow. Lying on the bed, S.H.I.E.L.D. gradually fell into sleep while planning her training methods for the few days. 4 days later. S.H.I.E.L.D. was training hard in the gym. He installed 6 microrams around the gym, installed tracks on the bases, and programmed them to move randomly and fire bullets at himself. He just stood there, constantly mobilizing his energy to defend himself against the bullets. Micro-impact bullets are specially customized and have 2/3 of the normal charge. After all, if it were a bullet with normal power, S.H.I.E.L.D. could still withstand a few bullets, but if there were too many, his life would be in danger. He bought 100,000 rounds of ammunition and 2 boxes of magazines through S.H.I.E.L.D., and filled his room. He walked into his room without knowing it, thinking he had entered an arsenal. He also commissioned S.H.I.E.L.D. to renovate his gym. The walls and doors were not only bulletproof but also soundproof. When you first start using this training method, chi has almost no effect. By the time he mobilized his energy to defend a certain part, the bullet would have already hit it. Especially on the first day, after an afternoon of training, there were red spots all over my body caused by being shot, which turned into bruises the day. Fortunately, the wounds from the battle with Dr. Lizard were almost healed when he started training, otherwise he might have been seriously injured. This kind of training has been going on for 2 days today. Although the situation has not changed much, he clearly feels that both the range and speed of mobilizing chi have improved a lot. I believe that as long as the enemy's attack speed does not approach the speed of sound, I will definitely be able to mobilize my energy in time to defend. Another magazine was empty of bullets, and S.H.I.E.L.D. endured the pain and began to change the magazines for these microcharges. This kind of training consumes a lot of bullets every day, and now Lorna has to spare several hours every day to help him load magazines. Dong dong dong. Someone knocked on the door of the gym, and then Lorna's voice came from a high-tech device on the door. The time of their operation has been found, it will be tonight, and the location will be sent to your mobile phone. S.H.I.E.L.D. felt refreshed. Are you finally going to officially take Spider-Man as your apprentice? Thinking about it, I'm a little excited. Chapter 22 Action. S.H.I.E.L.D. immediately paused training and called Little Spider, and the call was quickly connected. Hey, is it Little Spider? S.H.I.E.L.D. asked. Master, please don't call me Little Spider, call me Spider-Man. Hey, that's the equipment our school just bought. Damn it, what about my experimental homework? Little Spider's voice came from the other end of the phone, as well as confusion. There were screams and a low roar, and the sounds of various things being destroyed could even be heard. What are you doing? S.H.I.E.L.D. asked in surprise. That green lizardman suddenly appeared in our school, and I was fighting with him. The little spider answered S.H.I.E.L.D.'s question, but then there was a series of shouts accompanied by the sound of the wind, and finally there was a sound of something heavy falling to the ground. S.H.I.E.L.D. had already imagined the scene of the little spider being picked up and thrown out by Dr. Lizard. It seems inconvenient for you, do you need my help? S.H.I.E.L.D. suggested. He knew that this was the plot of Dr. Lizard's attack on Spider-Man's school. Go and eat dirt, you bastard, the little spider seemed to fight back. No, no need, I can handle it. If you have anything to say, just tell me. Oh, remember the agreement I made with you? We'll take action tonight. I'll send you a location and we'll meet there at 2 in the morning. S.H.I.E.L.D. said. I should have been sleeping at that time, okay, no problem. Spider-Man replied. Then I'll hang up first. S.H.I.E.L.D. said with some embarrassment. Strawberry felt like she was causing trouble to the little spider. Well, goodbye master. Wow, big guy, your mouth really stinks. Beep 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 beep. Beep 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 beep. At the end of the phone call, little spider seemed to be fighting with Dr. Lizard again. S.H.I.E.L.D was a little confused after hanging up the phone. The plot of Dr. Lizard attacking the school has already happened. It stands to reason that defeating Dr. Lizard will definitely get a lot of redemption points, but according to the development of the plot, it will be time for Dr. Lizard to release the lizard serum in the Osborne Industrial Building in a few days. It's hard to be strong enough to defeat him in such a short time. If you can't learn the turtle-style Qigong in a short time, you may have to rely on Little Spider. This feeling was very bad, and S.H.I.E.L.D felt more and more that she was too weak. It seems that I still have to spend some time for squeezing training. S.H.I.E.L.D pondered as she threw herself into training again. Night, 2 o'clock in the morning. In a small square near the sea in Hell's Kitchen, S.H.I.E.L.D and Little Spider, dressed in battle uniforms, met. "Hey Master, you don't know how handsome I am today. When that big green lizard attacked our school, I saved everyone, and Gwen, by the way. I think if she knew I was Spider-Man, you will definitely fall in love with me." Little Spider started to talk as soon as they met, which made S.H.I.E.L.D, who was already in a bad mood, very annoyed. "Shut up, Parker. Our actions need to be quiet." S.H.I.E.L.D couldn't help but lectured. "Oh, wait, Master, how do you know my name is Parker?" Little Spider said in surprise. "Nonsense. Open your mouth and shut it up, Gwen. I'll know who you are after a little research." S.H.I.E.L.D rolled his eyes at the Little Spider, and then ordered, "Today's main task is to save people. You should be very good at this. Let you see what those beasts have done and think carefully about whether you want to become my teacher." "No problem. But Master, I still think it's better to arrest them all. The police will handle everything. Shut up and follow me." Seeing that the Little Spider was about to start talking nonsense again, S.H.I.E.L.D stopped him directly and stared at him with a vicious look. "If you open your mouth again, I will fuck you." The Little Spider was finally quiet. The gang's trading hours were at 3 o'clock in the morning, but they had been clearing and guarding the place since dark the night before. However, this level of vigilance was not enough for two superheroes with extraordinary powers. Around, in the morning, S.H.I.E.L.D and Little Spider rushed to the cargo terminal and hid there. Not far from them, between two rows of containers, the gangster was already waiting there, and one of them was carrying a money box. In my ES life, I always felt that it was stupid for those gangsters to make transactions with cash. It would be so convenient to transfer money directly. But after being a superhero for a while in this life, S.H.I.E.L.D realized that cash transactions do not go through bank accounts and do not require money laundering. S.H.I.E.L.D was here thinking wildly, while the Little Spider was squirming around like an ADHD patient and couldn't rest for a moment. Not long after, the transaction began. The object of the transaction was another group of gangsters who came on foot from the direction of the dock. The two didn't know what they were talking about, but they saw the new gangster walking up to a row of containers and opening two of them. From the direction of S.H.I.E.L.D, you can just see the scene inside the container, which is full of girls. These girls were tied with ropes and their mouths were sealed with tape. They were dirty and looked horrified on the faces of the gangsters who opened the door. There was a lot of blood in the container, and many girls were injured, and there were even a few lying on the ground, not knowing whether they were dead or alive. The buyers began to inspect the goods. They separated two people with flashlights to inspect the injuries and appearance of the girls one by one. The leaders of both parties lit cigars and chatted happily beside them. S.H.I.E.L.D was very calm. He had seen scenes more cruel than this, otherwise he wouldn't have had the courage to kill people in the first place. But this was the first time that Little Spider encountered this situation, and his body stopped twisting and stared at the dark transaction scene in front of him. I have tried to arrest these people more than once and send them to the police. But behind them are capitalists, and they will be released soon, leaving a few subordinates as scapegoats. Just arrest them, and they will not repent, it will only get worse. Because they know that you will not kill them, and the law can't do anything to them. S.H.I.E.L.D said with a heavy tone. Little Spider remained silent, but S.H.I.E.L.D felt his stubbornness. Alas. S.H.I.E.L.D sighed. Go ahead, arrest these people and send them to the police station. You can use your own eyes to see what the law is to these people. I will be responsible for saving those girls. The Little Spider nodded, and a piece of spider silk shot out and flew out. S.H.I.E.L.D shook her head and followed. Little Spider is going to be disappointed with the law, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. He can prove it with practice. The arrested gang leaders will most likely be acquitted. I believe that the kind-hearted little spider will have his own benchmark in his heart. No matter what happens, with him as his master, he won't turn into a villain, maybe. With the spider sense, the little spider can dodge before the enemy targets him, and firearms pose little threat to him. 20 or 30 gun-toting gangsters are nothing to the little spider. He can easily knock down the enemies between the gunfire and control them with spider silk. It was even easier on S.H.I.E.L.D's side. After knocking down the 2 guys who were inspecting the goods, they just had to keep the girls from being threatened by the gangsters who were beaten over. The battle went quickly. As S.H.I.E.L.D expected, Little Spider didn't kill anyone, he just controlled them. The little spider who was immersed in the battle seemed to be in a much better mood. S.H.I.E.L.D folded her arms and watched him happily flying around in the fire net. She felt like she was watching her own baby. Chapter 23, Dividing the Spoils. Don't be afraid, that pervert who likes to wear tights when flying around, a superhero, but the legendary Spider-Man, a few gangsters, can be solved in minutes. As soon as the gunfire rang out, behind S.H.I.E.L.D the little girls screamed when they heard the gunfire, and he quickly turned around and comforted them. It turned out that his comfort was of no use. The group of girls huddled together in fear and screamed like a flock of ducks. The decibels reached the sky, and S.H.I.E.L.D felt that her eardrums were about to burst. However, he did find that one of the girls was not crowded with these frightened girls. She was very calm and curiously put her head in to observe the little spider's battle. S.H.I.E.L.D didn't pay attention at first. After finally appeasing these little girls, she felt a little bored just standing around and suddenly noticed this maverick girl. Because it was relatively dark inside the container, I couldn't see clearly what it looked like. I could only see a general outline. He is about 160 centimeters tall, which is considered short in the United States. Aren't you scared? S.H.I.E.L.D asked. Huh? You are actually a child. The girl was surprised when she heard S.H.I.E.L.D's voice. God bless me, please let me enter the voice-changing period as soon as possible. I really can't stand being treated like a child all day long. I'm 15 years old. S.H.I.E.L.D said with a dark face, then decisively changed the subject. How did you get caught? I secretly filmed their drug deal and was caught red-handed. The girl replied, spreading her hands. Are you a reporter? S.H.I.E.L.D asked curiously. 35XS. No, I just want to expose them. The girl shook her head. People should have the right to know and know what the world is really like. My ideal is to publish all the things that the public does not know. That won't work. S.H.I.E.L.D sneered at this and pointed at the little spider who was still fighting. For example, the guy in the tights and I should reveal our true identities according to your theory, right? That way, our relatives and friends will be in danger. If you expose us, you may indirectly kill both of us. A superhero is surrounded by many people. No, if people knew all this, they would protect them. The girl denied stubbornly. Hey, what are you talking about? Just as the girl finished speaking, the little spider landed from the sky in front of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's nothing, I'm just bored and want to chat. S.H.I.E.L.D patted the little spider on the shoulder. A few ordinary people have been using it for such a long time, and you still need to learn a lot. Oh, didn't you see? There were not a few, but dozens, and they were gunmen. I worked very hard to control them in such a short time. Little Spider complained dissatisfied. Didn't kill them. S.H.I.E.L.D raised his eyebrows. No. The police should be here soon, just leave it to them. Little Spider shook his head, glanced at the girls behind S.H.I.E.L.D, and became depressed. 35XS Little Spider, who had only dealt with robbers and thieves, learned about this kind of organized crime behind the glamorous city for the first time, and his outlook on life was impacted. What if most of them are acquitted? S.H.I.E.L.D asked. Then catch them again. Little Spider answered quickly, obviously having considered this issue before. This will only make them more emboldened. Forget it, you will understand gradually, let's go. S.H.I.E.L.D originally wanted to persuade him a few more words, but gave up. Sometimes words alone cannot convince a person. Facts are always more powerful than empty words. The right to know is a good thing, but the issue of privacy must also be taken into consideration. Moreover, sometimes lies may be well-intentioned, but the truth does not always bring good results. S.H.I.E.L.D turned to the girl to her and said one sentence. Stay here and don't move. The police will be here soon. After saying that, S.H.I.E.L.D. rubbed her hands excitedly. It's time to clean up the battlefield. He called to Little Spider, "Little Spider, this side belongs to you, and that side belongs to me. Take out all the dollars they have. And, where is the box of money? Where is the box of money?" Huh. Little Spider was stunned. What? The police are almost here, move quickly. Wow, tonight is enough. S.H.I.E.L.D. shouted. He immediately found the box of money and opened it. Sure enough, it was full of US dollars. He has harvested this box twice, with a standard capacity of $1 million. This money. Little Spider hesitated on the side, and it was clear from a glance that he was very resistant to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s behavior. S.H.I.E.L.D. glanced at him. "This is justice execution funds. I am a full-time superhero with no income, so these are my wages. If I don't take this money, will it be reserved for these gangsters to commit crimes? It seems to make sense, but I always feel like something is wrong." The Little Spider was confused. "You are still a student, right? Your tights must be broken often. Do you need money to replace them with new ones? Do you need money for your spider silk launcher and spider silk? You may need to develop new equipment in the future. Do you need money? Classmate, don't be too rigid," S.H.I.E.L.D. said as he began to search the gang members. He is quite proficient in his business, and he has already completed 2 searches while talking. However, the Little Spider still couldn't move his hand. "I want to save face and suffer the consequences." S.H.I.E.L.D. rolled her eyes and ignored him. 5 minutes later, S.H.I.E.L.D. searched all the gang members and gained more than $2,000. The main income was still the $1 million. The Little Spider was so conceited throughout the whole process, but he didn't calm down in the end. S.H.I.E.L.D. simply tore off a piece of her cloak, without counting, directly poured out more than $50 from the cash box, wrapped it up and stuffed it into Little Spider's arms. "Take it, you deserve it." This. Little Spider became even more confused. But it was obvious that he was very moved by seeing so much money. "Anyway, I gave you the money, so you can do with it as you wish," S.H.I.E.L.D. said with a smile. "I'll be looking for you again, after these bastards are released. Guess how many times we have to catch them?" Little Spider was silent. He didn't know how to answer. "Let's go, you should go back early." S.H.I.E.L.D. patted the Little Spider on the shoulder again and left here swaying. The Little Spider watched S.H.I.E.L.D. leave. He stood there for a long time and struggled mentally. Finally, he gritted his teeth, took the money, shot out the spider silk and swung away. The girl hid in the shadow of the container and watched the whole process with great interest. After the 2 left, they looked back at the other girls who were still huddled in a group and shivering, not daring to make any move, and bravely walked out of the container alone. Less than 10 meters away from where she just stood, there were bullet holes and scattered weapons everywhere. Dozens of gangsters who were trapped in balls of cobwebs and unable to move had faces full of humiliation. They had just been touched by a man. All over the body. "Is there such a superhero?" The girl frowned and murmured, and the dim light in the distance illuminated her face. She was actually a yellow race, very delicate looking. If S.H.I.E.L.D. had seen her face clearly just now, he would have abducted her home just like Lorna. She is Sky, Shockwave, the eternal replacement for the Avengers in the future. Chapter 24. The story begins. It was almost time for Dr. Lizard to release the serum in the Osborn building. S.H.I.E.L.D. specially changed his work location, giving up Hell's Kitchen, a geomantic treasure, and rushed to hang out near the Osborn building every evening. Performance dropped off a cliff, and my daily income was only a few $100s, which was very unaccustomed to me. But a few days later, except for the little spiders that could often be seen swinging around, it was still calm and uneventful. S.H.I.E.L.D. regretted not watching the movie carefully in her ES life, and now she couldn't remember when the plot started. He even thought about giving up his daily practice these days and patrolling the area morning and night so as not to miss the plot. On the contrary, there have been new breakthroughs in chi practice during this period. After this period of practice, he finally mastered the control of chi. If his concentration is not disturbed, he can now mobilize all the energy in his body, which means that he can already use the most unique skill in Dragon Ball, Turtle-style Qigong. Realizing this, S.H.I.E.L.D. went to an abandoned factory to try it out. When he opened his posture and concentrated his energy into the palms of his hands, a translucent qigong pop-up with a faint white glow appeared in his hands. Unfortunately, he got excited and lost control of his anger, and the qigong bombs immediately dispersed. After that, S.H.I.E.L.D tried a few more times, and the qigong bomb was successfully made, but how to shoot it out? Lack of control. Not enough energy. I feel like I'm just on the verge of getting there, but I can't find a way out. On the contrary, his combat effectiveness improved rapidly under the oppressive training. In just a few days, his combat effectiveness exceeded 100. According to his own classification standard, 35XS is now an extraordinary superhero, but he still feels that he is far inferior to Spider-Man. The gap is also very big for the extraordinary level superhero. It is estimated that Spider-Man's combat power is at least or more, regardless of objectivity conditions. If you give yourself 10 guesses, it will be fine. What he desires most now is to exchange for a combat index measuring device, which is the monocle-like thing worn by Frisia's subordinates. With that, he can accurately grasp the gap between himself and Dr. Spider-Man and Lizard, and then decide what actions to take. It's not an option to just hang around like this all day. I feel like I'm doing community service. I just have to help the old lady cross the street. Why don't we call Lorna tomorrow and go shopping with her? By the way, Lorna is out collecting intelligence all day. How did you collect it? S.H.I.E.L.D stood on the rooftop of a building, thinking in boredom. I finally managed to get Miss Polaris home, and until now I have never invited anyone out on a date. I have asked people to do housework and collect information all day. Am I a straight man? S.H.I.E.L.D seemed to understand the reason why she had been single in her ES life. Strawberry. That's it. I've decided to invite Miss Polar Star to watch a movie when I get back tonight. S.H.I.E.L.D silently made up his mind. However, he didn't know if he accidentally triggered the stand-up mechanism. The second he made up his mind, police sirens blared, and a series of police cars speeded past him on the street below. What happened to so many police cars? Is there a gang fight tonight? S.H.I.E.L.D's heart moved and she quickly followed. The recent decline in business volume has been so severe that S.H.I.E.L.D is not used to it, so she just took advantage of this opportunity to make a fortune. However, a few minutes later, S.H.I.E.L.D, who was following the police, realized something was wrong. The police department has mobilized a lot of police force tonight. There are police officers everywhere in Queens, as well as a large number of special police officers. Looks like they are searching for someone. Is there a new supervillain in New York? S.H.I.E.L.D was confused when suddenly there was a gunshot in his ears. The sound was so small that it was almost inaudible from at least 3 blocks away. S.H.I.E.L.D decisively ran towards the direction where the gunfire came from. But S.H.I.E.L.D saw the police's movements on the road, which was even more strange. There were gunshots, indicating that a battle must have occurred. But most of these police officers gathered in the completely opposite direction, and only a small number of them rushed to the place where the gunshots came from. How is this going? S.H.I.E.L.D wanted to go to the place where the police gathered, but the place where the gunfire came from was right in front of him, so he decided to go to the nearest place first. After climbing over another building, S.H.I.E.L.D finally arrived at the battlefield. What comes into view is a large green mist, in which the green Dr. Lizard is showing off his power. The heavily armed special forces were no better than a 3-year-old child in front of Dr. Lizard. They were thrown around like toys and were almost wiped out in the blink of an eye. The special forces soldiers who were thrown out seemed to have something stuck in their bodies and were struggling violently. Now S.H.I.E.L.D remembered everything. It's time for the final battle in the Dr. Lizard chapter. So, those policemen who gathered in the other direction were going to catch the little spider. S.H.I.E.L.D, who suddenly understood, didn't think about joining the battle now. Because if he remembered correctly, this green mist should be the legendary lizard serum. If you accidentally inhale some, you don't know what chemical reaction will occur between the Scion S cells and the lizard serum. If some irreversible reaction occurs and you can no longer transform into a Super Scion, you will be at a big loss. Dr. Lizard will definitely be stopped by Little Spider anyway. S.H.I.E.L.D watched Dr. Lizard take down an entire team of special police officers and then got into the sewer. After thinking about it, S.H.I.E.L.D didn't choose to chase. Putting aside the question of whether he can win or not, he knows where the final battlefield is and can just rush there when the time comes. More importantly, he saw that the team of special police officers had turned green. At first glance, they were a degraded version of Dr. Lizard. Their size had not grown much, so they should be able to defeat him. A large wave of redemption points is beckoning to me. How can I give up so easily? S.H.I.E.L.D saw that the green mist had almost dispersed, and he jumped from the rooftop of a high-rise building that was at least 15 stories high. Under the influence of gravity, S.H.I.E.L.D used the classic superhero landing method, kneeling on one knee, and landed on the ground like a cannonball, cracking the ground. Perfect. S.H.I.E.L.D secretly admired. He raised his head and saw the chaotic streets. The whole street seemed to have turned into a small battlefield. Many special police officers who inhaled the serum have completed their transformation, lost their minds, and began to destroy the surrounding environment wantonly and attack normal people in sight. The reinforcements of the police shot at these monsters. Although the bullets could easily penetrate the monsters' bodies and cause damage to them, the wounds healed in an instant, which instead aroused the monsters' anger and made them even more violent. The SWAT police who turned into lizard men were much faster than ordinary people, and could also walk on the wall with their claws. In the blink of an eye, the police officers were killed and routed, with heavy casualties. I have to say that being a police officer in New York is really a high-risk profession. Chapter 25 Combat Index Measuring Instrument. S.H.I.E.L.D officially joins the battle. I saw S.H.I.E.L.D kicking her feet to the ground after landing, and then disappeared in the eyes of ordinary policemen. Strawberry's moment, he had appeared behind a monster and kicked it out. S.H.I.E.L.D's speed at this time was already close to that of a bullet, and the super high speed brought powerful kinetic energy. Coupled with the extraordinary physical strength, the effect of this kick is outstanding. The monster was kicked in the head, and his neck bone broke with a crack. His body flew out uncontrollably and was put into a clothing store on the street. Defeat the degraded lizard men and get 43 redemption points. The first redemption point is received. S.H.I.E.L.D got excited when she heard the system prompt. Sure enough, as predicted, these inferior versions of Dr. Lizard are not very powerful in combat. He once experimented that by defeating an enemy, you can get a sum of exchange points. When the enemy becomes stronger and defeated again, you can get another exchange point, but you can only get the exchange points brought by the enemy's enhanced combat power. And when you kill the enemy, you can get double the redemption points. Within sight, there were at least 15 degraded lizardmen. In other words, there are at least nearly 2,000 exchange points waiting for him to harvest. S.H.I.E.L.D's eyes suddenly became fanatical. He immediately launched an attack, rushed in front of the second lizardman, and punched the target in the abdomen. This punch actually broke through the lizard man's skin and stabbed into its belly. S.H.I.E.L.D was stunned for a moment, and the attacked lizardman punched him in the head as if he didn't feel the pain. Strawberry S.H.I.E.L.D was startled and quickly kicked the second lizardman away. It hit a lamppost on the side of the road and the metal lamppost was shattered. Wipe it, it's so disgusting. S.H.I.E.L.D shook off the blood on her hand and complained with a grimace. The sudden appearance of S.H.I.E.L.D gave the police confidence, and they shouted and launched an attack. Although it is of no use, its efforts are worthy of recognition. But at the same time, the lizard people also noticed this sudden appearance of a powerful enemy. They stopped their movements and attacked S.H.I.E.L.D in unison. Not only that, the lizardman who was kicked away by S.H.I.E.L.D first and broke his neck actually crawled out of the store with his neck twisted. Oops, I forgot these lizard folk regenerate. By the way, it seems that these people were originally police officers. Do they really want to be killed? The key is, what can I do if I can't kill him? S.H.I.E.L.D was confused. Trouble is a tangle, and he was not hesitant about his move. Even if you can't kill him, you can still get redemption points for defeating him. S.H.I.E.L.D's current combat power is around 120 points, and it is easy to deal with this group of lizardmen with a combat power of 40 to 50 points. If you hit with all your strength, you will be seriously injured. Although this group of lizardmen were much stronger than ordinary people, they had no way to deal with the stronger S.H.I.E.L.D. Faced with the siege of dozens of lizardmen, S.H.I.E.L.D dealt with it with ease. Even if he was hit once in a while, it could not cause any serious harm to him. But the problem is, these lizardmen can't be killed. Even if his head is smashed, he gets up again within a few minutes and is a good man again. After fighting for a long time, each lizardman had gained a wave of redemption points. No matter how he defeated the system, there was no prompt. S.H.I.E.L.D was so tired that he was breathing heavily, but there were still so many lizardmen, and none of them were killed. How can this be done? On the other hand, the police officers who were reduced to onlookers were very enthusiastic. After realizing that the shooting was useless, they didn't even fire their guns. There were actually a few cheering him on not far away. The New York police officers are really heartless. What else can be done? Just hold on for now. In order to maintain your glorious image as a righteous partner, you can't just leave these guys here. Holding on, S.H.I.E.L.D made new discoveries. It seems, the recovery speed of these lizardmen has slowed down. It's time to open up your imagination again. S.H.I.E.L.D immediately guessed that maybe the regeneration of these lizard people was limited. Does it consume physical strength or life force? In order to verify his guess, S.H.I.E.L.D specially caught a lizard man and hammered him hard. Regardless of feeling sick, he withstood a few attacks, breaking almost all the bones in its body. Then save your energy to fight with other lizardmen, silently taking note of this guy's recovery time, about 4 minutes. Again. Less than half a minute after the unlucky lizardman recovered, he was hammered into a mollusk again. Sure enough, the recovery time extended to nearly 10 minutes. Maybe if I hammer a few more times, I can kill this guy. And with such a long recovery speed, I might be able to take advantage of the time difference. First hammer these lizardmen into mollusks one by one, and then continue to fight one another to save energy. Just do it. S.H.I.E.L.D changed his style of single-handedly challenging opponents, beating the one he identified and then beating him into a mollusk before replacing him with the one. With his current strength, it takes 6 to 8 minutes to punch him. Basically, he only needs to face 6 or 7 enemies at the same time, which is much easier than before. And as time went by, the recovery time of the lizard people became slower and slower. After a while, S.H.I.E.L.D only had to face 15 mollusks. He just had to see which one recovered quickly and just hit it. S.H.I.E.L.D, who was finally able to rest for a while, sat down on the ground and glanced at the groups of lizard men on the ground, sweating profusely from exhaustion. It is too frustrating to fight against an enemy that cannot be defeated. When the police around them saw that the lizardman was under control, they wanted to stop S.H.I.E.L.D from doing anything again. However, they saw a lizardman who had been beaten to a severe disability and stood up again as if nothing happened. At this moment, a harsh metal friction sound suddenly came from the sky. Looking up, I saw that the robotic arms at several construction sites began to rotate in unison. If I remember correctly, this plot should be about the sheriff letting the little spider go, and the enthusiastic people at the construction site helping to build the bridge. Has Dr. Lizard arrived at the Osborn building? S.H.I.E.L.D frowned, and nodded a few times. He smashed a lizardman who was about to recover and looked up at the Osborn building not far away. Sure enough, the green lizard doctor was climbing towards the roof from outside the building with great interest. By the way, the combat index measuring instrument. S.H.I.E.L.D spent 800 points to exchange for a combat index measuring instrument, an old version that exploded when its combat power exceeded. Because someone was nearby, he pretended to take it out of his clothes and put it on. It seems that it can only test targets within sight, and does not have the function of searching for targets with high combat power on a planet. Maybe it's weakened. No matter, as long as it works. S.H.I.E.L.D first tested the combat prowess of the lizard men in front of him. 23, 21, 19, 21. Shouldn't it be more than 40? He raised his head again and took a look at Dr. Lizard, who was still climbing up in the distance. Combat strength 724. How is it possible to beat this? Maybe it would be good to just let the plot develop naturally, why bother to interfere? Hey, these glasses are not broken. Why are these lizardmen so low in combat effectiveness? S.H.I.E.L.D's doubts flashed past, and she immediately guessed the reason. I happened to see a lizardman who was about to recover. I took a test and found that the combat power was 22. Take action immediately, beat him into a mollusk, and test again, the combat power is 18. It seems like this can kill them. S.H.I.E.L.D's eyes lit up. Chapter 26 Little Spider Father-in-Law. S.H.I.E.L.D guessed that the recovery of these lizardmen would definitely consume energy, but he didn't know what energy they consumed. As energy continues to be consumed, their ability to heal will also decrease. If all energy is used up, they will be killed. This is only reasonable. Although there are unscientific things like magic in the Marvel world, lizard serum is a real black technology creation and must follow objective laws. Realizing that these lizardmen could be killed, S.H.I.E.L.D. suddenly forgot about participating in Spider-Man and Dr. Lizard's plan. There are a bunch of living redemption points in front of you. Although the redemption points provided individually are not many, the total may be more cost-effective than defeating Dr. Lizard. I just don't know how the redemption points for killing the opponent are calculated. Is it calculating the peak combat power that can be achieved? Or calculate the combat effectiveness before death? Or is it calculating the highest combat power during lifetime? Anyway, let's kill these guys first. S.H.I.E.L.D. happily came to the street. Under the surprised eyes of the onlookers, he ran to the wall that was smashed by some unlucky lizardmen. He picked through it and found a fragment of the wall that was the size of a human head. He weighed it twice in his hand, nodded with satisfaction, and ran back to the group of lizard men. Since recovery consumes energy, let you consume more. With this thing as a weapon, the scene suddenly became bloody. S.H.I.E.L.D. very carefully smashed each lizardman into floss from head to tail. Sometimes, if he thought the smashing was not good enough, he would crush the pieces with all his strength. With this kind of injury, several lizardmen were killed immediately, and the remaining combat power instantly dropped to less than 10 points. The prompts, earned 86 redemption points, and, earned 92 redemption points, kept ringing in his mind, and he chuckled. In the eyes of the onlookers, S.H.I.E.L.D. took a stone and smashed it at the lizardmen who had lost the ability to resist, until his flesh and blood were mutilated. A few people with a strong sense of justice were about to step forward to stop him when they saw a perverted smile on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s face. They couldn't help but shudder and stopped. Abnormal. He's still a super pervert, who can't be offended. Finally killed. From the beginning to now, it took more than 40 minutes to finally get this wave of redemption points. Except for the first 10 minutes, they were almost constantly torturing these lizard men. S.H.I.E.L.D. said that he would never fight such an undead opponent again. Well, if you encounter Wolverine, Saber-toothed Tiger, or Deadpool in the future, you must stay away. I wonder how the little spider is doing. S.H.I.E.L.D. raised his head and looked at the roof of the Osborn building. Dr. Lizard has just climbed to the top of the building, and little spider hasn't arrived yet. Haven't started playing yet? S.H.I.E.L.D. thought for a while and decided to join in the fun. Killing Bullseye with Erica before was considered as completing the mission. Maybe you can redeem some points during the fight between Spider-Man and Dr. Lizard, right? He was located very close to Osborn Tower, only half a block. Strawberry ran all the way to the bottom of the Osborn building and saw a little spider arriving with spider silk. The time is just right. There were many police officers around Osborn Tower, but the encirclement was not very tight, and S.H.I.E.L.D. easily bypassed them. Break the glass directly into the building and go straight to the elevator. I really can't figure out why Spider-Man and Dr. Lizard have to climb up. It's so windy and cold outside. He complained while pressing the elevator button on the top floor. However, just as the elevator was about to close, a policeman suddenly broke in. An electric light flashed in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s head. Could this be the father of Spider-Man heroine Gwen, who seems to be a police sergeant, coming to deliver the antidote to Spider-Man? This old guy seems to have caused a lot of trouble for Spider-Man and delayed a lot of things. What's his name? I can't remember the name of this third-tier supporting character at all. The moment the sergeant saw him, he raised his double-barreled shotgun and pointed it at his head. Who are you? Do you believe me when I say I passed by? S.H.I.E.L.D. shrugged and said impatiently. Although the gun couldn't hurt him. It was still unpleasant to be questioned at gunpoint. Child. The police chief was stunned for a moment when he heard S.H.I.E.L.D.'s voice, but he immediately stopped caring and ordered sternly, "Raise your hands so I can see them, and back away slowly. I long for my voice-changing period." Okay, I'll be honest, I'm here to help. I'm a superhero after all. S.H.I.E.L.D. spread her hands and said helplessly. Maybe you don't need to, but I still have to remind you. The little spider is probably fighting with the big lizard now, and he may be killed if we don't set off. Back off. The police chief was silent for a moment, then walked into the elevator with his gun raised, still pointing at S.H.I.E.L.D.'s head. Why are you so awesome, pointing a gun at a superhero? If you weren't little spider's father-in-law, I would have beaten you up. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s face was full of displeasure, but she still stood obediently until the elevator reached the top floor. The elevator door opened, and the sergeant pointed his gun at S.H.I.E.L.D while exiting the elevator, then turned and rushed towards the rooftop. S.H.I.E.L.D helplessly watched the sheriff leave, then walked out of the elevator leisurely, and followed the sheriff to the rooftop. When we arrived at the rooftop, we saw a mess, as if a typhoon had passed by. The little spider is using air conditioning to freeze Dr. Lizard, and the sheriff is bravely fighting on the side, constantly breaking Dr. Lizard's tail and palms. "You hit me in the head." S.H.I.E.L.D looked very helpless. I measured the little spider's combat power, 597, which is more than 100 less than the big lizard. No wonder he was beaten. Then I saw the little spider push the big lizard into the ditch with one kick, and the police chief followed decisively. "This is Gwen's gift to you." The sheriff took out the antidote and handed it to the little spider. "Quick, leave this to me." The little spider decisively took the antidote and ran towards the canary device at the top of the tower. If I remember correctly, when the air conditioner runs out, the big lizard will kill the sheriff with one claw. S.H.I.E.L.D suddenly recalled the plot of Spider-Man in his S.H.I.E.L.D life in his mind. He was startled and quickly stopped watching the show and rushed towards Dr. Lizard. Sure enough, the air conditioner is running out. The police chief wanted to say something when he saw S.H.I.E.L.D rushing towards him, but was pushed away by S.H.I.E.L.D. Dr. Lizard climbed out of the ditch easily, and when he saw S.H.I.E.L.D, he swept over with a paw. The sheriff was right to him. If he dodged, the sheriff would be torn apart. He could only step forward to avoid the sharp claws and protect his head with both hands to resist the blow. Dr. Lizard was much more powerful than those inferior lizard men. Although avoiding the tip of the claw was only equivalent to a slap, the claw hit him like a speeding train, causing him to fly away. Fortunately, the direction of flight was not outside the rooftop, so it was not transferred out. But S.H.I.E.L.D completely withstood the blow and broke a wall, making him feel that all the bones in his body were in pain. "Count down to 30 seconds. The prompt tone of the canary device sounded. "No. It will take a while longer." But he could only stand up reluctantly, staying at least 10 meters away from Dr. Lizard, and Dr. Lizard had already begun to move towards Little Spider, trying to end Little Spider from replacing the serum in the canary device, and he was about to arrive. Chapter 27: The Turtle School Qigong. In the movie, even the sheriff, an ordinary person, delayed Dr. Lizard for a few seconds, causing him to fail at the last moment. Strawberry, but the current situation is so urgent that S.H.I.E.L.D has no time to recall the plot. Now all he could think about was, "I mustn't let this girl turn me into a big lizard," and everything else was thrown aside. "I finally traveled through time and gained a handsome appearance, but you actually want to disfigure me." Sprint past. The distance was too far, and with Dr. Lizard's speed, he couldn't catch up before he reached the top of the tower. Would he scare him by shouting loudly? It's a bit funny, and Dr. Lizard is a doctor after all, so he shouldn't be that stupid. Throw something at him. But his strength was too different from his, and anything he could lift probably wouldn't pose a threat to him. In an instant, several plans were established and denied in S.H.I.E.L.D's subconscious, and his mind became increasingly chaotic. Damn, it would be great if there was a long-range attack. Remote attack method. Turtle-style Qigong. Isn't the most famous long-range attack in Dragon Ball the turtle-style Qigong? Although I haven't fully learned it yet. But now I can only act like a dead horse. S.H.I.E.L.D immediately put her posture into position, took a deep breath to get rid of distracting thoughts, closed her eyes slightly, and focused on mobilizing the energy in her whole body. Although he was on the battlefield, S.H.I.E.L.D's heart became calmer, and all the energy in his body began to gather in the palms of his hands. A Qigong bomb with a white shimmer gradually took shape in his hands. What is the control of Qi and what is unable to leave the body? All problems are forgotten. In S.H.I.E.L.D's world at this moment, there is only the big green lizard that keeps moving towards the top of the tower and the Qigong bomb in his hand. I'm going to kill him with turtle-style Qigong. This was the only belief left in his mind, and then he pushed forward with both hands. Turtle-style Qigong. Base. The Qigong bomb flew out with a long tail flame, accompanied by a loud noise that broke the sound barrier. Success. The Qigong bullets are connected to S.H.I.E.L.D's hands through the tail inflammation, and S.H.I.E.L.D can also increase its power by continuously transferring energy to the turtle-style Qigong. Not knowing that his turtle-style Qigong could kill people, S.H.I.E.L.D almost ignored his investment and kept squeezing his body just to be on the safe side. As soon as the Qigong bombs left the body, I felt a sense of collapse. Fortunately, turtle-style qigong is much faster than expected, even faster than the speed of bullets. It hit Dr. Lizard's back almost as soon as it was launched. When Dr. Lizard heard the movement, he only had time to turn his head and glance. He only vaguely saw a flash of white light, and an unknown ball of light hit his back. At first he didn't pay much attention, but the moment a huge force suddenly came from the light group, almost like a train at full speed, it started to push him forward. At the same time, there was a severe burning pain, burning his back like a flame. 35XS. What kind of weapon is this? With this question flashing through Dr. Lizard's mind, he was pushed far away from the direction of the canary device and pushed into a pile of unknown pipes on the rooftop. S.H.I.E.L.D. finally couldn't hold on any more at this moment. She had no strength at all in her body and could no longer support the turtle school qigong. The ball of light between his hands flashed twice and dispersed, and he staggered twice and almost fell to the ground. Just then, a surprise appeared. The turtle school qigong, which lost its energy supply, exploded. The flames of the explosion immediately enveloped Dr. Lizard, and even covered an area of at least 10 meters centered on Dr. Lizard. Everything was engulfed in the fire. The fire flashed away and was replaced by dust all over the sky. You could vaguely see through the dust that the area seemed to have been bitten by something, and a piece of it disappeared out of thin air. Killed. S.H.I.E.L.D. rested her hands on her knees and panted heavily, with a hint of expectation in her heart. No, there isn't. With Dr. Lizard's physical strength, he would not be killed so easily. And this guy has a super regenerative function, how can he die so easily? More importantly, there is no system prompt. Not only is there no kill prompt, there is not even a defeat prompt. This shows that his full blow just now did not cause any effective damage to the opponent. A green figure jumped out from the turmoil, it was Dr. Lizard. At this moment, Dr. Lizard was also breathing heavily, his body was still covered with hideous wounds, and he was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Especially the gash on the left side of the abdomen that was cut open by an unknown source. Through the wound, you could see the squirming internal organs. However, granulation sprouted and recovered almost in the blink of an eye, leaving not even a scar. Ouch. He was angry and completely lost his human sanity. He howled like a wounded beast and sprinted towards S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. wanted to run, but the strength was so severe that her legs seemed to be no longer her own. Her 2 staggering steps were slower than the old lady walking. It's over, now you're dead. Seeing Dr. Lizard getting closer and closer, just when he thought he was dead, something rose into the sky from the top of the Osborne Tower and exploded in the clouds. Dr. Lizard was attracted and looked to the sky in panic. In the sky, raindrops with a touch of light blue began to fall from the sky. Raindrops fell on Dr. Lizard's horrified eyes, and the scales on his body faded away little by little, beginning to reveal normal human skin. Congratulations on defeating the enemy and obtaining 724 redemption points. Wow, does this count as defeat? Great, I can finally redeem the legendary gravity room. S.H.I.E.L.D. looked at the green Dr. Lizard with excitement, looking forward to the changes in its body. No. He knelt on the ground with a thump, looking at his hand that was gradually returning to normal, his whole body was trembling. Especially the right arm, the entire right arm slowly turned into something like horny, and then gradually peeled off. After a while, Dr. Lizard returned to being the one-armed Professor Connors. Still naked. You actually let me see the naked body of a middle-aged man like you. It really stains my eyes. S.H.I.E.L.D. felt that her 24K titanium alloy dog eyes were going to go blind. Thank you. Professor Connors thanked S.H.I.E.L.D. sincerely. There is nothing I can do to restore you to normal. If I could beat you, you would have died long ago. Do you believe it? S.H.I.E.L.D. knew what he was thanking and waved his hand carelessly. Sitting down on the ground, he turned his gaze to the spire that was crumbling in the aftermath of the battle. The sheriff had just gone hiding somewhere, but now he appeared again, took out the handcuffs and cuffed Dr. Lizard. Spider-Man had just come down from the top of the tower. He seemed to want to come over, but he was afraid of his father-in-law and was very hesitant. It has nothing to do with me anymore. S.H.I.E.L.D., who had regained some strength, waved to Spider-Man as a farewell, pointed to the helicopters circling around, and turned back to take the elevator. Spider-Man looked in the direction S.H.I.E.L.D. pointed and saw the sign of a radio station on the helicopter. He immediately realized that he was not suitable to contact the sheriff now. Taking a deep breath, he jumped down from the rooftop and swung away on the spider silk. Chapter 28 Official Apprenticeship. It has been 2 days since the Dr. Lizard incident. Most of the human trafficking gangsters that were captured by Little Spider were acquitted, and only a few went to jail to take the blame. When S.H.I.E.L.D. informed Little Spider about this, Little Spider was depressed for 5 minutes. That night, Little Spider ran to a bar according to the information provided by S.H.I.E.L.D., arrested these people again, and threw them back to the door of the police station. When the Little Spider rushed to the bar, they were celebrating their freedom, drinking wine and singing songs. Suddenly a pervert in tights appeared and subdued them all. It was quite desperate. They didn't commit any crime this time, and I don't know if the police will arrest them. S.H.I.E.L.D. found it very interesting what the Little Spider did. Early the morning, when it was just dawn, the Little Spider followed S.H.I.E.L.D.'s instructions and came to a deserted bridge hole with his true colors without any disguise. S.H.I.E.L.D. specially waited here half an hour in advance. When Little Spider arrived, he was sitting on the ground playing with his mobile phone in an awkward manner. "Master. I'm here." Little Spider excitedly ran to S.H.I.E.L.D. and shouted. S.H.I.E.L.D. was startled by the sudden appearance of the Little Spider, and immediately showed an annoyed expression. He came here early just to pose the OSS with his hands behind his back and his back exposed when the Little Spider arrived, which is the kind of pose that great masters often pose in martial arts works. But after waiting for a few minutes, I felt bored, so I took out my phone to play. Unexpectedly, I became hooked as soon as I started playing. My glorious image, wow. Wow, master, I didn't expect you to be younger than me. How did you practice so well? And that glowing ball that day was so cool. Can I learn that? Little Spider kept talking excitedly. Strawberry. Ahem. S.H.I.E.L.D. coughed lightly, silently put away the phone, and made a serious look. I said that you can only worship me as your teacher if you show no mercy to the darkness. Have you really thought about it? When Little Spider heard this, the smile on his face gradually disappeared, and he was silent for a while and said, I have thought about it. I am not mature yet. I don't think I have the ability to judge others. Let the judgment be left to the law. I am only responsible for bringing them to justice. Catch him. S.H.I.E.L.D. smiled slightly. I'm not wrong about you, Peter Parker. As a superhero, the important thing is not his actions, but his kindness. I am very satisfied that you can stick to your heart. Congratulations on passing the test. From today on, you are my first disciple. Are you kidding? This is Spider-Man. If you want to become my teacher, how could I refuse? Tests and such are just for the sake of showing off. After all, there is usually a test for the protagonist to become a disciple in martial arts works, right? Spider-Man is considered a very powerful superhero in Marvel. If anyone dares to mess with him in the future, he will just close the door and let Spider-Man go. Ha 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 ha. S.H.I.E.L.D. was filled with joy, but her face pretended to be very calm. Really, master? Can I learn that glowing ball now? And your boxing skills are so cool. You must teach me, and I will definitely work hard. Parker was dancing with joy. Strawberry. This. S.H.I.E.L.D. hesitated. I use Qigong from the Guotian sect, and learning Qigong requires talent. I don't know what your talent is. If you don't have talent, you won't be able to learn it no matter how hard you learn it. Then do I have talent? I'm so good, so I must have talent, right? Parker asked impatiently. This depends on whether you can understand Qi. S.H.I.E.L.D. explained. I have the simplest set of boxing techniques, which are superficial uses of Qi and can forcibly mobilize the Qi in the body. I will show you. After you learn it, try to see if you can feel the flow of Qi in the body. To be honest, Parker himself was not sure whether he could learn how to use it when he was angry. After all, Qi belongs to the Dragon Ball world. I wonder if the physique of people in this world is the same as that in the Dragon Ball world. If Qi is something unique to the Dragon Ball world, then it will probably be useless no matter how much people in this world practice. Therefore, there is another plan to accept Parker, which is to test the possibility of popularizing Qi in this world. If Spider-Man can also cultivate Qi, then others can probably do it too. Maybe the Qi training method can be used to exchange for some good things from S.H.I.E.L.D., such as Quinjet fighters or something. You must get a Quinjet, because the Quinjet is so handsome. S.H.I.E.L.D. took a deep breath and took 2 steps forward. Watch it, he said to Parker. He leaned forward in a lunge and punched out like a wolf. S.H.I.E.L.D. used the wolf Fong wind fist, and the fist faintly roared like a wolf. The wind from the fist flew 2 or 3 meters away, knocking down an empty gasoline barrel that someone had placed there. Wow! Chinese Kung Fu! Parker exclaimed with his eyes widened. Well, do you remember? S.H.I.E.L.D. asked, smiling and nodding. Just keep it to yourself that the author of Dragon Ball is Japanese, and no one will come out to sue you for copyright infringement. Besides, Akira Toriyama drew a lot of Chinese elements in Dragon Ball, right? You should remember it, right? Let me try. Parker scratched his head, got into position and started trying. There is a boxing style, but it is purely based on physical strength, like a breeze. Why not? Parker was confused. No, you do it bit by bit. First pose, and I'll tell you how to use force. S.H.I.E.L.D. frowned and said. His Langya Fong Fong fist was systematically drilled into his brain, and every movement was refined, equivalent to several years of hard training. Even if the movements are deformed during the battle, the desired effect can still be achieved. But Parker was different. He had never been exposed to this kind of move to mobilize body functions. He could only pose like a cat or a tiger in the air, and had to learn it from scratch. If Parker hadn't been physically strong enough, he would have had to polish his body from scratch. S.H.I.E.L.D. needed to correct Parker's movements bit by bit, adjusting the way every muscle in his body exerted force. Only by completely replicating the original Langya Fong Fong can it be possible for Parker to feel the existence of Qi. I had no choice but to exchange almost all the redemption points for a low-level 10x gravity chamber and put it at home. I couldn't exchange it for the turtle immortal fluid technique, so I had to try this method. If it doesn't work, try to find a way to exchange it for turtle Senryu. It is said that during the battle at Osborne Tower, Dr. Lizard slapped him in the face with all his strength. Even the Scion's strong body suffered some internal injuries, which are still not fully healed. I finally redeemed the gravity room, but I haven't used it yet. I feel like my injury is almost healed today. I'll go back and give it a try soon. Tuck your legs. Keep your arms higher. Use force on your waist and abdomen. I said force on your waist and abdomen. Congratulations on getting rich, congratulations on getting rich. Just when S.H.I.E.L.D. was correcting Parker's movements and thinking wildly, Hua Zai's beautiful singing voice suddenly sounded. S.H.I.E.L.D. took out her phone and saw that it was her stockbroker. You keep practicing, I'll answer the phone first. S.H.I.E.L.D. ordered Parker, walked to the side and picked up the phone. Hey, man, has Stark Industries stock fallen again? I said, I believe in Stark Industries, and I won't lose money. S.H.I.E.L.D. said impatiently. Although when I bought Stark Industries shares on a summer night, the steep decline in Stark Industries stocks had passed, the stock price still fell frequently during this period. His stockbroker is a very responsible person and has made more than 10 phone calls so far to remind him to sell the stock. No, boss, Stark Industries stock has gone up, the broker shouted excitedly on his mobile phone. Tony Stark has been rescued. He is now on a military plane and will arrive in the United States at noon tomorrow. Chapter 29 Teaching Little Spider. Great, sell all the stocks early tomorrow morning. Remember, it's all. S.H.I.E.L.D. said quickly. Strawberry. Ah. Sir, did you hear wrongly? I said that Tony Stark was back, not that he was dead. The agent's tone sounded as if S.H.I.E.L.D. was crazy. I heard you right. Sell all the shares of Stark Industries before Tony Stark gets off the plane. S.H.I.E.L.D. almost shouted, ordering the broker. Sir, the news that Tony Stark was rescued has just come out today, and Stark Industries stock price has reached the daily limit. There is no doubt that there will be another daily limit as soon as the market opens tomorrow. I must remind you that Stark Industries the stock price is going to recover, and maybe even higher. I don't recommend that you sell the stock now. The broker advised awkwardly. He felt that his employer was a lunatic. He bought the stocks when they plummeted and sold them when the stocks hit the daily limit. The best part was that he actually made money. Itong Xiaobi's operating assets actually increased by 20%. But this is just a blind cat encountering a dead mouse, which is against the laws of the market. As a qualified stockbroker, you must advise your employer to give up this stupid behavior. S.H.I.E.L.D slapped her forehead, helpless. This stockbroker is very obedient, but very stubborn. Even if he follows your orders, he must express his opinions. If he doesn't listen, he will keep harassing you. Friend, I am your boss now. No matter what opinions you have, you must do as I say, okay? He tried to calm himself down and ordered. Okay, sir, you are the boss. So which stocks can be bought with the funds from selling stocks? I have a few blue chip stocks that have performed very well, and the monthly return rate is expected to be above 4. The broker responded, but began to ramble again. Recommend other stocks. These recommended stocks seem to be good. Even though S.H.I.E.L.D has only stayed in this world for less than 2 years, he has basically heard of these names. But I don't understand. I was an otaku in my ES life, so how could I know about such a high-level thing as stocks? How to deal with losing so much money? Besides, once Tony comes back and holds a press conference, Stark Industries stock will jump again. The funds will still be reserved for bargain hunting at that time. No, leave all the funds alone, I have a plan. S.H.I.E.L.D interrupted the agent. I will contact you in a few days. Get ready to sell your stocks quickly. Time is very tight. After saying that, he hung up the phone decisively without waiting for the agent's reply. In a while, I will be the major shareholder of Stark Industries. From now on, I can just eat the dividends and wait to die. S.H.I.E.L.D couldn't restrain herself with excitement, and wished she could lie down on the ground and roll around. When the time comes, beautiful cars, beautiful women, and beachside villas. Master, master. Just when S.H.I.E.L.D was looking intently at the future, Parker's delicate face suddenly appeared in his field of vision, interrupting his reverie. What's the matter? S.H.I.E.L.D's eyes were unkind. My daydreaming was interrupted like this, I was just imagining taking a young model home. Damn Parker, are you ready to suffer? As a master, corporal punishment is your right. Master, I feel angry. Parker said excitedly, and then immediately got into a stance and punched out. The wind of the fist faintly carried the wolf howl and rushed towards the water not far away. The water seemed to fall on a stone, splashing. There was a splash of water. Damn it. Have you learned it now? S.H.I.E.L.D turned to look at Parker, her mouth widening in surprise. He had his memory forcibly injected into him before he could successfully master the Langia Fong Fong fist. It would take an ordinary person at least 3 to 5 years to master it. He actually learned it in the blink of an eye. Could it be that little spider is a genius? That's right, after Parker's genetic mutation, his control over his body is far beyond that of ordinary people. As long as he masters the know-how, he can basically imitate any move. Thinking of this, S.H.I.E.L.D finally calmed down and asked, So, did you feel anything when you punched? Parker recalled with a frown. There is something like electric current, which converges from the body to the fist. Could it be bioelectricity? No, bioelectricity should not be felt. Parker, that's S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D said with a smile. Since Spider-Man can cultivate chi, others should be able to do it too. The Quinjet is here. In a good mood, he didn't care about the interruption of his daydreaming. In addition, the stock trading of Stark Industries finally paid off. S.H.I.E.L.D had a very good attitude, much like a qualified teacher. Is this chi? Parker suddenly realized, and then looked at S.H.I.E.L.D expectantly. So, can I learn the move that emits light balls now? No. S.H.I.E.L.D shook his head decisively. That move is very powerful and requires a lot of control of chi. Your understanding of chi is still very superficial and you need to practice more frequently. I will teach you when I think you can do it. I haven't mastered turtle-style qigong myself, so how can I teach it to you? Besides, if I teach you and you learn it all at once, and the apprentice knows it but the master still doesn't know it, where will I put my face as a master? And it was all taken out at once, what will be taught in the future? After mastering the skill, he will teach Parker the turtle-style qigong. Master one and teach one, master one and teach one. The plan is passed. I'm such a witty boy. S.H.I.E.L.D was very satisfied with her plan. Okay. Parker seemed a little disappointed. Don't worry, our Turtle Immortal sect has a lot of things. We even have moves to fly out of thin air. S.H.I.E.L.D patted Parker on the shoulder and encouraged him. Really? Can you fly? What kind of move is that? Why haven't I seen you fly? When can I learn it? Parker became excited, and instantly turned into 100,000 whys, and a stream of questions came out of his mouth. Out. S.H.I.E.L.D. kept smiling at first, wanting to enjoy Spider-Man's admiration for her, but soon she felt like there were a bunch of flies buzzing in her ears. Parker. S.H.I.E.L.D. interrupted Parker with a dark face. Now that you can feel chi, go back and practice more and learn to control it. I have given you chi. It depends on you to what extent you can master it. After saying that, S.H.I.E.L.D. followed the example of senior masters in martial arts works, turned around, leaving Parker with a back view, and walked away slowly with square steps, hands behind his back. However, half a minute later, Little Spider passed him on a bicycle, and specifically asked him if he wanted to give him a ride. He also asked him if he was in a hurry, and left without saying hello. The image of an expert collapsed. I can't pretend to be good, and I am repeatedly defeated by the little spider. I am so helpless that I doubt my life. S.H.I.E.L.D. sighed secretly for 3 seconds before she came out of her disappointment and continued to look forward to it. Finally, the gravity chamber was available. Chapter 30 Gravity Chamber. I don't know why, but S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to be a completely different person after traveling to this world. From a game geek who likes to stay up late to finish copies, to a fitness geek who loves to exercise and enjoys the process of constantly getting stronger. Strawberry's greatest joy every day is to challenge his endurance limit again and again during practice, and then enjoy himself watching his increased combat effectiveness. In short, even if the world changes, the nature of being an otaku still cannot be changed. There was no one at home, and Lorna had gone somewhere to collect information. It feels like I finally managed to get Miss Polaris home, but my relationship seems to be making little progress. Why are none of the special events such as watching a movie together, having a candlelight dinner together, having sex together, etc. triggered? And there are no dialogue options. Reality is indeed a garbage game. No matter which world it is. As a straight man, S.H.I.E.L.D. said that it was not me who was wrong, but the world. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s home is located in the Clinton district of New York City, where land is at a premium. It is a 246 square meter high-rise duplex mansion. Even in Hell's Kitchen, the rent is as high as $30,000 a month. Every night, you can see the brightly lit night view of New York from the floor-to-ceiling windows, but now it's blocked. 6 micropunches were installed in the gym and transformed into a bulletproof simulated battlefield. The master bedroom was filled with bullet boxes. The second bedroom was occupied by Lorna. The other rooms were too small to fit. S.H.I.E.L.D. could only put the gravity room was placed in the living room and suddenly took up half of the space. After you finish trading Stark Industries stocks, you must learn from the Playboy Tony and build an independent beach house. The bigger the better. The kind that can be displayed in a garage. S.H.I.E.L.D. silently made her first spending plan that wasn't just a fool's errand, and then turned her attention to the gravity room in front of her. The gravity chamber is a sphere whose main body is black and white. No matter the overall structure or parts, it is difficult to find any sharp edges and corners. At a glance, you can feel the technological style that is completely different from this world. Compared with the advanced black technology in this world, this gravity chamber is more like a fantasy creation in comics. Of course, in fact, it is. In Dragon Ball, Sun Wukong's growth period relies on the gravity chamber to continuously enhance his potential. In just a short interstellar journey from Earth to Namek, his combat power increased from 8,000 to more than 100,000, and his combat power increased more than 10 times. It's just that the upper limit of the gravity chamber in front of S.H.I.E.L.D. is only 10 times, the same as that of Kaiu. But you must know that Sun Wukong's growth in Kaiwang is still exaggerated. In 1 year, his combat power increased from less than 22, an increase of nearly times 8,000 combat power. I wonder if the combat power of 8,000 people can reach the level of fighting the normal Hulk. S.H.I.E.L.D. stepped into the gravity chamber with great excitement. He didn't wear weights, mainly because he wanted to try to see how much combat power he could withstand now. Try twice the gravity first. S.H.I.E.L.D. operated on the dashboard and pressed the switch. The moment gravity was turned on, S.H.I.E.L.D. felt her body sink. Unexpectedly, although I could bear it easily, I was suddenly out of breath. How is this going? S.H.I.E.L.D. panicked for a moment, then figured it out immediately. Although I have been doing squeeze training and carrying weights almost all the time, no matter how I exercise, I am exercising my muscles. However, the degree of exercise for the fragile internal organs, blood vessels, muscles, and bones is minimal. You can't feel it at ordinary times, but once you enter this high-gravity environment, you immediately feel the fragility hidden inside your body. No wonder Sun Wukong's combat power soared as soon as he came into contact with the gravity chamber. It must be because the training in the gravity chamber made up for his shortcomings in training. But twice the gravity, even ordinary people can bear it. S.H.I.E.L.D increased the gravity multiplier to 3 times the gravity. However, except that the body felt heavier, there was no change. He tried moving twice and found that his movements were greatly restricted, as if something was pulling him down all the time. Every part of his body felt like this. It seems that the limit has not been reached yet. 4 times the gravity. 4 times the gravity was already beyond the limit of what his body could bear. The moment gravity was turned on, he felt that his body became particularly heavy under the influence of gravity. Even if he was just standing, the bones of his legs, which supported all the weight of his body, were crackling. S.H.I.E.L.D remained unmoved and felt it silently. After a few minutes, the muscles, bones, and internal organs were all overwhelmed and sent pain signals to the brain. 4 times the force of gravity is actually not that big. Even ordinary people can withstand it in a short time after rigorous training. Those pilots who have undergone special training can even withstand the pressure of nearly 10 times gravity for a few seconds. But those were all short-term, and were for training against the instantaneous acceleration of fighter jets. Ordinary people will be seriously injured in an environment with more than twice the gravity for a little while. But for summer nights, 4 times gravity is just right. His physical strength has far exceeded that of ordinary people, and 4 times the force of gravity barely exceeds the limit of his body's endurance. Faced with the gravity pressure that exceeded her own limit, S.H.I.E.L.D became excited. This kind of environment that puts a huge load on the body is the best exercise for summer nights. 4 times the gravity happens to be maintained at a level that puts a lot of pressure on the body but does not cause harm. In this environment, he can be fully improved. Without further ado, he immediately started doing simple physical training such as running, push-ups, and sit-ups. Movements that were not considered exercises at all for him in normal times were extremely difficult to do under 4 times gravity, and he had to stop to take a few breaths within a few minutes. But at the same time, his physical strength is also improving across the board. Especially the untrained bones, muscles and internal organs are rapidly adapting to this high-intensity pressure. S.H.I.E.L.D exercised for a full 2 hours, several times squeezing her exhausted energy. In the comics, it seems easy for Sun Wukong to train in the gravity chamber, but it turns out that there is no easy shortcut to becoming stronger. When he walked out of the gravity room, he sat down on the sofa and was so tired that he could hardly lift his arms. Although his body was very tired, his eyes were full of excitement. In just 2 hours, his combat effectiveness increased by more than 10 points. This is equivalent to the effect of his entire day's exercise. The efficiency has been improved several times. This is only 4 times the gravity. As the body's strength increases, the gravity multiple can continue to increase. In other words, this speed of improvement will last for a long time. S.H.I.E.L.D is already imagining the scene where he will pass the test of 10 times gravity, and the gods will kill the gods and Buddhas. Keep training. S.H.I.E.L.D rested for only 10 minutes before diving into the gravity chamber again.